It's time for MacBreak Weekly. Andy Anako's here. Jason Snell's here, filling in the empty chair left by Alex Lindsay. The wonderful Doc Rock. We will talk about the big news. The problem is, there's a lot of big news. Google is now the official AI partner for Apple's Siri. That's exciting. Chase is taking over the Apple credit card. We'll talk about Verizon. They've changed their rules on unlocking iPhones, and a new feature from Claude called Cowork that makes it a lot easier to use AI in your everyday tasks on Macs. All that and more coming up next on MacBreak Weekly.
Podcasts you love
from people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is MacBreak Weekly, episode 1007, recorded Tuesday, January 13th, 2026. They plump when they cook. It's time for MacBreak Weekly, the show we cover the latest Apple news. Hello, this was a big week for Apple news. Good news. The doctor is in. Doc Rock joining us from Honolulu. Hello, doctor.
Aloha.
Aloha. Sporting the orange Doc Pop this afternoon.
Actually, it's red. My color thing is tripping today.
That's reddish.
But
it could be red.
I'll fix
It
it.
might be me. Might be me. It might not be. It might not be orange.
It's what do you call it? A gentleman of a certain vintage. Yeah, that's what it's called.
That's me. That's me. Also joining us from the library in beautiful New England, California. Andy, no, I don't know where I did to California. New England. Andy Anako. Hello, Andrew.
You know, there are parts of the country that aren't California, Mr. Californian guy.
No, it's all California.
And some of New York, but fine. We had a whole sitcom based in Boston once and it was real popular, too.
Cheers.
They're on the map.
Good night, Beantown.
You can go to visit. Oh, Beantown. Yeah, that's it. And Boston Legal. There have been a number of things. In fact, maybe movie makers love it a little too much. That's Jason Snell.
Hello.
Who is in California.
California here, reporting in. Yes.
Purple blue Doc Pop.
Yep. You know, colors. They're good. Have them.
I love it.
I say.
I love it. Well, the big story of the week, there's many. Actually, we're going to talk about we'll have our Vision Pro segment in a bit, so don't worry. We'll talk about the Lakers game. But I think the big story is one that we kind of been hinting at with rumors galore. But Apple made it a final official announcement. Yes, Gemini will be standing up in the place of Siri.
Well, not quite.
It's going to be white labeled.
The Gemini will be powering the foundation models on Apple's devices and in private cloud compute. It sounds like there are a lot. It was a very limited thing. What that means is that Siri will be powered by Google models, by Gemini. That doesn't mean Gemini is replacing Siri, right? Like Siri's not going to be
But when I
replaced.
talk to Siri, will I be talking to Gemini?
You will be talking to a Google Gemini model furnished to Apple. That's what you'll be talking
backs.
to.
Is that what you're saying?
You will not be talking to Gemini. You will be not be talking to Google's servers. You'll be talking to Apple's servers.
That's important, isn't it?
And it will not change the branding. It's still going to be Siri.
Yeah.
So this is a very complicated thing that they haven't released any substantial information about. Just two cryptic paragraphs given to Jim Cramer at CNBC and then later posted to Google's blog. So we have to kind of backfill, but it sounds like, Apple's replacing the models that its AI group developed with Google models. That's the bottom line. And that goes to not just Siri, but all Apple intelligence features.
Yeah, this
Here's
is really
the
no
joint
different
statement. After careful evaluation. In other words, they were talking to Anthropic, they were talking to OpenAI. Who knows? They might have been talking to Meta and Microsoft. We don't know. Apple determined that Google's AI technology provides the most capable foundation for Apple Foundation models and is excited about the innovative new experiences it will unlock for Apple users. Apple Intelligence will run on Apple devices and private cloud compute while maintaining Apple's industry-leading privacy standards.
Yeah, I mean, I was when the news broke, I was looking for, well, what has Apple posted to its newsroom, and they posted nothing. They were allowing Google's joint statement, the joint statement that posted on Google's blog and Google servers to stand as the official statement. Even the quote official statement unquote that they gave to CNBC was essentially a two-sentence quote from like that original statement. Obviously, Apple, for a good number of reasons, including user confusion, they don't want people to think that Gemini is coming to Apple and replacing their plan for Apple Intelligence. Like Jason said, this is more like a case of they're subcontracting out a job to a firm with way more experience and way more success at this, just like any number of contractors that have contributed invisibly to any number of very, very front-facing Apple projects. So Google is basically building Apple, whatever Apple thought that they were or promised they were going to be building as Apple Intelligence 2 years ago. That plan is still moving forward. However, they've hired a subcontractor to actually build things to their specifications, which includes all the privacy stuff running on Apple servers. Google has, I think, also clarified that no, Google will not have access to any of the data that comes through Apple Intelligence for its own training purposes. It really is just they are building a white label unit. They're building an engine plant, a power plant to power Apple Intelligence. One of the things that was kind of up in the air when these rumors started floating around was exactly how much is Google going to be providing. And according to the joint statement, they were not very, very vague about specifics. It really does seem as though, again, their foundation model is going to be built by Google based on Gemini technology, which, when you get down to it, it just seems like the smartest thing Apple could possibly do. It's not as though that Apple doesn't have the ability to build a really good foundation model. It doesn't mean that Apple was in a real rush that they have to deliver this, or else people are going to start buying Android phones instead of iPhones. However, it was becoming very, very clear that by the time Apple created an in-house foundation AI model that was capable of whatever they wanted to do, they would have essentially been shipping the iPhone 4 when Google and everyone else was shipping, the iPhone 13, 14, 15. So there was really it was really the smart thing to do. Whether or not the interesting question that's still on the table is how much more work does Apple want to do on developing its own foundation model? Like, is there if they're a couple of years away from finishing something that's very, very useful, at the end of this, what is described as this multi-year commitment between Google and Apple, are they just going to say, well, what's the point? We've got something great. We've got something very, very mature. Assuming this has been a very good, fruitful working partnership, what can we add to the game now by creating our own foundation model that we can't get by simply having a more intimate relationship with Google's Gemini team to build us Apple Intelligence the exact way we want it? So it's interesting to see in 2 or 3 years' time if Google is going to remain the provider of foundation model AI intelligence to Apple Intelligence forever, or whether this is just a stopgap measure. I'm betting that this is a very, very much a long play.
I think it's brilliant in the fact that, I see so many people get this twisted, but like they were spending a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of money, a lot of resources, and realizing having the common sense to know when to cut bait is actually one thing a lot of businesses don't do. And if you really think about it, so RBPT, sorry, I'm going to go F1 for a second, or Red Bull powertrains have been Honda, and now they're not first anymore. So they thought about some stuff. 2026 rules are changing. Cadillac is jumping into the fray. So they're going to like revive Cosworth and bring back the Ford powertrain team. So RB26s are going to be Fords. You know what Red Bull don't make? Engines. They make power drink. So if you want to be, Max Verstappen back at the top again, then you go get a different powertrain company. It's not every other business does it, but Apple's like, oh, we're going to go and just let Google do this for us, and people just went bananas. And it's kind of crazy because we've been using, basically Google technology as the search for Safari since 2007.
It shouldn't really surprise us because we did have the story almost a month ago that Apple had moved John Giandrea out and brought in a new head of AI who happened to be the guy who was the product manager for Gemini. So that's kind of a hint Apple's thinking along those lines. Mark Gurman's tweet Giandrea got $25 million a year before stock. Is that Giandrea he's talking about before stock gains
so.
for 8 years? Do the math, and they just got rid of him and hired the guy who helped build Gemini at Google. Good work if you can get it. I wouldn't feel too bad if I'm Giandrea. You got a nice little payday, and you know what? Do you think it's them saying, John, you failed us? But fortunately, Google's been working. Here's the thing: it's a little risky, and I understand Apple's delay in this because right now it is a heated head-to-head race between Google, Anthropic, and OpenAI.
Yeah,
and China they've got an open source model that is doing extremely well outside of the Western world.
I think the general consensus is, and I will back this with my own experience, that Chinese models are impressive for what they have done with the limited resources they have. They've also shown the way. They did a year ago with reinforcement learning. But they are still, I would not have chosen any, and Apple's never going to choose any Chinese model for Siri. But maybe in China they will.
Oh, sorry.
I think the smart thing to do was to pick one of the big three. The problem is, who's the winner? Gemini 2 months ago was easily the best when they came out 3.0. I would submit that as of November 24th, Anthropic, with their Opus 4.5 model, has now taken the lead.
Here's the thing. First off,
Anthropic is the best model, but Anthropic's CEO is not the easiest person to play with, even though he's probably the most brilliant.
They were talking to him.
Best model.
They were talking to him.
Fully understand, but considering how he got to that versus OpenAI and that, it was like, do you really want to play there? And then OpenAI is good, but they're also a little bit confused in who they want to be, and they're also heavily Microsoft. And I don't think the whole Apple Microsoft thing plays out like the way people think it used to play out.
And Google's already given Apple at least $20 million a year, so give them back $1 billion.
Exactly. So
no big deal.
It's the devil you know. I mean, for lack of a funnier term, like it literally is the devil you know. And the one thing that Google,
it's just I'm worried they're picking the wrong horse, is what I'm saying.
No.
I think the horses will be even for so long that it's not really a matter of the wrong horse. It's going to be like, that thing where you squirt the water in a clown's mouth and it kind of goes up and down and up and down and up and down. It's going to stay that way for quite a long time. I don't see any of these guys pulling the
Jason
break
say
out.
something.
Yeah,
Jason?
I mean, no, it's going to be modular, right? That's the thing about this is Apple is building features on top of these models. And although this is a multi-year partnership with Google, the features that it builds are going to be on the iPhone. So on that level, you could swap in a new model and it wouldn't be that big a deal. I think also, yes, it's a horse race at the level that Apple is using this stuff, which is not at the level that people who are pushing the frontier of an LLM. I think that those details, those little distinctions are probably not going to matter so much. What Apple's trying to do here is build iPhone features, not build a coding assistant, or, it's probably not going to show as much. So they can drop it if they need to. It's not going to show as much. It's up to them to build actual features in their operating system that people are going to want to use, but that's the advantage. Those are Apple features on top of someone's LLM that is like a part of a car that's being provided to them, but then they're building everything that goes around it. So I don't think it's that big a deal. I think maybe when this all started, everybody was thinking, oh, well, if you're Apple, you need to build your own LLM. And maybe that was true. Maybe it wasn't. But they failed. And I'm not sure it matters in the long run because there are so many other suppliers and access to all, everybody who uses an iPhone is a pretty big deal. So I think that this is okay for Apple as long as they can deliver. That's the question: is can they deliver? Okay, they won't have the model as an excuse anymore, but they still have to deliver features that people want and integrations into the iPhone and the Mac that people will actually use and find valuable. That's the question.
What I was going to add was that, like, to piggyback onto Doc Rock's comparison, it's like I think that Google is the best choice for what Apple needs because there are a lot of AI companies that are building cars. I think that Google is specializing in building engines. Like, so if you're trying to, when you come to a company saying, hey, we want to build a machine that can be used to till land on farmland, like, Google understands, well, we build an engine that can turn a shaft. We can build a custom engine that's really, really good for that can help you build this thing. They are the company that back when AI was nothing but not even a really interesting demo. Back when it was just people knew about it there is this cute little research project that can play the game Go that very few people outside of Japan have really heard of. That's when Sundar Pichai was on stage sticking his neck out saying that we are pivoting. We are basically defining the next chapter of this company as artificial intelligence. So they understand basic fundamental things about this technology that goes to, we want to do a language model? Great, we can build a language model. You want to build a science research model and a medical model? We've built those too. You want to build a robotics model? We've built a robotics model. They're the company that has really at least demonstrated the ability to go beyond asking questions of a chatbot and getting answers back. And so if you want to basically say, we need you to build us something to our specifications for our use case, I can't think of how you could do better than Google in terms of actual resources and actual proven capability.
Well, it remains to be seen. They're going to roll it out slowly. It won't happen all of a sudden, at least according to Gurman and others. I think Ming-Chi Kuo. The first inklings of it will it be in 26 too? Maybe. But it won't be till June, I've seen some say, WWDC, when you get the full features of Apple Intelligence switched on through Gemini. I mean, they're doing fine. It's the best image model right now, which is, it's a close race between it and ChatGPT, but it's I would say Nano Banana, their newest model, is pretty impressive. And Apple obviously thinks that's important. I don't know. How is Gemini compared to the others for writing? It feels like Apple cares more about things like image generation, Genmoji, writing, summaries, that kind of thing, than it does about things like coding, which is what Anthropic is really good at. You agree, Jason?
Well, they do have LLM integration in Xcode for coding, and they are going down that path. That's a separate path, right?
They're also doing health. They've announced health,
and they have partnerships, right? They have partnerships with other LLM companies to do other things. The question is sort of like, what they're doing here is the stuff that they were relying on their own models for. They're going to replace those models with Google's models because they're better.
There's probably a lot of testing too about how well it integrates with Siri, because it's at least my sense of it from the past 2 years is that was the hard thing, was the back and forth voice chat.
Yeah,
when you look at Alexa Plus, for instance, it's hit or miss. It's not great.
I think that's part of the challenge, is that they have when they say that it didn't pass their quality bar, they do mean it. I think they tested it and they're like, we can't ship this. It's just not good. Even though it's going to make us look bad that we can't ship it because it's not good enough. So I would caution anybody, if we go down the path of who's ahead in the horse race for image generation, or who's ahead in the horse race for coding or whatever, like, it's going to be back and forth.
Oh, yeah.
And honestly, I don't think it matters when you're at the level where Apple is implementing features in UI on top of these models in OS releases for regular users to do stuff. I don't think that if one model is slightly better than the other, nobody's going to care. And keep in mind, if you want to download the other, an app that uses the other model and run it on your iPhone, no one's going to stop you, right? Like,
yeah, you can still use real Gemini if you want.
You have access to all of those other models as apps if you want to.
Almost in parity with Siri, right? I mean, I guess if you're using a HomePod commands.
Yeah, I mean,
what is it that Siri
Apple's got
does?
An ecosystem. Apple has an ecosystem, and it's integrated in a lot of different ways, specific ways to the hardware and the handoff to different devices for different tasks and all sorts of stuff like that has to be part of the kind of training and integration of a different model in, because you have to do kind of heavy lifting in, like, if you say something in an open room in an Apple ecosystem, there's a thing that happens where all your devices are talking to each other saying, who gets this one? Who's this for?
Right.
And so they built that, but the good thing is they built it. It's just whatever they're saying there, it needs to know what device has what model that is the one that should get this. And the right thing to do at this point will be once that Google model is there, it'll be that one that should win.
I have to say, as end users, we should be happy because there is competition. And competition is really neck and neck right now, and it's brutal.
Competition in LLMs, but I want to make this point, which is with this deal, the default LLM integrated, the default core model integrated on basically every phone in the world is Gemini.
That's a good point, because it's Android and iOS, isn't it?
And Elon Musk was whining about that the other day in response to that. Oh, well, Apple should not have control of this. Well, the thing is that I'm sure they took a look at Grok, Elon. I'm sure they had a good laugh about it, and then they moved on.
It's funny. I left. Didn't I leave XAI out of the conversation? I did. I haven't mentioned them.
Well,
I don't really use them. I have it because Elon gave me a non-consensual blue check, but I have no desire to use it.
Yeah. So the competition is especially important because there are so many questions still about what role AI is going to have. It should provide in an operating system level, on a device level. I mean, I brought up China not because I thought that in any way, in any world, Apple would consider using their foundation model, but the idea that I was reading a bunch of different analysts who are saying that the thing is they're making a lot of inroads in countries outside of like what we consider the Western sphere, and they're also their models are not as good. But one part of the bet is that it's good, and we don't know what good enough is yet. And if they are providing a model that's good enough and has open weights and can be run on a lot less power than the best models, who knows in 2 or 3 years whether or not everyone else is going to be trying to say, yeah, well, let's roll out our own good enough models. What I'm saying is that there is so much that's in flux right now that really it's hard to determine winners and losers. One thing that remains true, however, that remains a problem is that you need the power and resources of a nation state in order to build a foundation model now. That congratulations, Google, you recently became a $4 trillion company, and all of the companies all the organizations that are doing really good foundation models have those resources to pay for all of the development and all of the support and all the compute that they need for this. So essentially, either you are a country in of itself, or you're a corporation that's so huge that you have the powers of a nation state. So that means that if the 5 companies that are doing competitive foundation models are doing bad things collectively and selfish things collectively that are bad for people, bad for society, bad for the planet, there's no room for an upstart to come in and say, guess what, we're going to come up with a much better solution, because you are not going to be able, unless you have a backer of that scale, you are not going to be able to build.
It really does give Google a leg up on the other guys. I mean, this is a big win for Google, which is probably why Apple gave them the press release.
When you think of Apple, not just as a client, not just as a partner, but as a client, now every other company that needs AI services, well, guess what? Apple looked at all the different organizations that could provide it with the services and the technology they need. They picked Google. Why shouldn't we at least take a look at Google number 1 on the list and then ask ourselves, why not Google? This is a big, big win for Google.
Yeah. It was kind of the
sets
obvious.
the tone for everyone else. Like you said, now Google gets to use that thing where you see, go to the site at the bottom, it says, oh, picked by Adobe and
exactly.
like Procter and Gamble.
You won't see it on any Apple stuff, right? They didn't even want to put it in their newsroom. And you definitely, and this is reassuring to people, won't be sending data back to, as far as we know, back to Gemini, right? This is still just as private. It's going to run on
Apple servers, on Apple's
one
hardware,
of the
everything.
reasons this deal may have happened the way it did is also because, keep in mind, Apple's not just doing a bake-off of the best LLMs. Apple is doing some negotiation involving compatibility, right? They want an on-device model, presumably, right? And they also, so that's going to be a lot more lightweight. And then they want something that will run in their private cloud compute infrastructure, which again is not the wild, any data center run by any LLM. It's a very specific set of rules. And obviously, Google said we could do that. And I think Google's an interesting partner in part because Google is one of the only major players that seems to really, really have a reason to care about on-device models because of Android. Yeah. And that's important. Like if you can, everybody, all the frontier stuff is happening in giant data centers, right? But like in the long run, the more stuff you can process, if you can have a powerful chip in your phone, which we do, and they're getting more powerful all the time, much better to run that thing locally with no latency And then if you can't do that, having a model that runs on Apple's system where Apple doesn't even know what you're doing because it's designed to be private and then get that data back to you, that's also pretty powerful. And not every LLM company is going to be capable of or interested in emphasizing those features right now. And Google's a good fit. So I think in that way, Google caring about smartphones makes them a good match for Apple because Apple also obviously cares about smartphones.
If we were giving points for the takes, Jason, you just got 75 points because that's the real answer. The fact that it is a mobile company and they actually do run their own servers and stuff, whereas Anthropic and OpenAI, they have to use other people's servers, including some of Google's.
Yeah, and Google has said that they were interested after Apple announced private cloud compute. Google did an announcement that was like, basically, they didn't say it, but it was basically, yeah, that's a good idea. We should do that too. For some, and it is. And Apple was the company. I don't think they get enough credit for this, but like Apple building private cloud is really a good move. Like that was a really smart move by them. And other companies weren't motivated to go down that path. And Apple's like, we're going to do this. We're going to build our own servers running a version of our own operating system that's going to be built to be private, and we're going to make that available for security researchers. And I think that was a great strategic move, and it gives them the ability to play in this space. And the fact that I think Google thought it was a good idea too, and that Google is technically capable and willing to build a version of their Gemini engine that will run on private cloud compute. Like, I'm not sure, if Apple talked to OpenAI, it may not have been Apple saying forget it, or OpenAI saying forget it, I don't want to work with you. It could have been that they looked at Apple's list of requests and were like, we aren't going to do this, right? But Google is
same thing all the phone companies did when Apple said, we got this thing called the iPhone. Anybody interested in that? And everybody said,
and it was
kidding me?
And it's possible that it wasn't even a case of we don't want to do this. It could be that on a technical level we have not built a flexible enough model that can be privacy agnostic.
I think that's true. I think that's got to be true, Andy, because if I'm OpenAI, the last thing I want is for every iPhone to have Gemini on it, right? That's the last thing I want. But I just don't think it's where. Well, I don't think it's where they're skating. I think that OpenAI is skating in a very different direction from where Apple wants to go in terms of having small private clouds and on-device models. And it's just like, fair enough. I think there are lots of different strategies here. We may end up having pit every AI against every other AI. It may be that ChatGPT is actually the master of this, and like Claude is over here doing coding, and that Google and Apple are working together on-device and small private cloud, and that there's room for all of those approaches because they're different. Right now, they're definitely all leaning into like what they're focused on. And strategically, I think OpenAI would rather be the thing that drives the iPhone, but I think larger strategically, it is just not an area of focus for them right now.
Yeah, I do think that they're. I'm sorry. Just quickly, I do think that they're at least OpenAI and everyone else is at least relieved to know that Apple is insisting on privacy controls, because this deal would have been a disaster for every other AI company if Google was allowed to use the data that it manipulates on iPhone to train and improve Gemini. The influx of all of that information from all of those iPhones, all of those iPads, all of those everything would have been such a huge tactical advantage. It would have definitely accelerated the improvements that Google could have done on Gemini. And so that would have been the thing that would have been not game over, but we are suddenly running. We are suddenly 2 bases behind on Google, because that is a huge advantage. And the fact that was not going to be a deal breaker for Google also says that at least Google is institutionally aware of the need for privacy. There was an announcement last week about how, Oh, good news. They're embedding Gemini even deeper into Gmail, and now it can give you all kinds of information regarding all 20 years of your emails. And even there, they had to basically point out that, oh, by the way, let's be explicit here. We are not training Gemini based on your emails. We are doing all of this within that private cloud compute analog that we announced a few months ago. So they're at least big. They've got a big enough business. They are not desperate to steal every penny they possibly can from its users and its clients, which probably was also an advantage. I'm sorry, Doc.
Yeah, and I was going to say real quick is, there's a limited talent pool of the people that can do this.
Yeah.
And so, there's been a lot of conversations about Apple's inability to do this, or Apple can't catch up and they got all the money in the world. It doesn't matter how much money you have in the world. If there's, let's just say there's only 2,000 people out there with the skills to make this happen, and you have a large portion of them already divided up amongst the top 3, unless you're going to go and pilfer people from some of these other companies to try to get them in, which they kind of sort of did a little bit. The smart play is to just realize that based off, and of course they have business decision people out there. They have analysts that goes, looking at the talent that's coming out, we don't see anybody that's doing anything that's kind of like the next Johnny Ive of this, if you will. So realizing that there's no talent right now and we don't have a lot of time and everybody's pressing us, stockholders want this, the media is slamming us. All right, here's our next move. There was a business analyst decision, and it was a brilliant one. Now, if we had a massive pool of talented people come out there, yeah, it might be worth taking your toys, going in the corners, and trying. But yeah, there's, and so people act like there's this infinite, number of people. I mean, I consider all 4 of us to be relatively smart. None of us was going to go work at Apple and do the AI team.
No.
Like, I could talk about Allen Iverson, but not about this. So, so like, I think people need to like get off the, I guess, how do I say it? It's not really a doom and gloom thing, but it's always assuming the worst. No, they're doing the best they can with what they have. And to me, it's a brilliant decision. And we know that they're going to strive for the privacy thing. And Andy's point is 100% valid. This is literally probably the best thing. And I am happy that it's coming. And I really hope that the one thing that we talked about a year and a half ago that we still don't have is I want to be able to say to Siri, hey, Siri, exactly when was the last time I got to hang out with Leo? And it was, according to your calendar, it was, such and such. That promise has not yet been delivered. And it was a feature that actually makes it semi-useful. You know what I mean? I was just in Kyoto like last week, and I was trying to remember this small mom and pop, udon shop that we went to that was fabulous, and I couldn't remember where it was. And I'm looking in my photos album trying to find it, and because of the way Photos does Japanese streets, I couldn't exactly nail it. Now, I eventually found it, but it would have been so much easier if I could just say, Siri, hey, the last time I was within 2 miles of here, where is that udon shop that I went to? And Siri would be like, oh, it's on Karasuma Dori Nijo. Just go there and 100 meters to the right, and it's underneath those steps.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's so seductive, isn't it? Like, even as I like Google, but even so, I'm like, do I want Google AI like attached to my inbox? But it's so seductive because, again, you've got, I don't use my Gmail account as my primary thing, but it is like where receipts and stuff go, and a lot of other information goes. Academically, if both of my mailboxes, my primary mailboxes, were connected with AI, the ability to say, I know that the last time I had a plumbing problem, I went with this water heater guy who fixed it really well, but that was like 6 or 7 years ago. Who was that guy? And like, what did he charge? And just simply not like, here's a search result, here's the email, say, oh, well, it's so-and-so, here's his contact information. Actually, I also found his business address, so he's still in business. If you want to call him, here, touch this button and it'll go. Or even complex things like, how much on average did I spend on every time I flew to San Francisco over the past 5 years? What was the average amount I spent on airfare? And simply just trying to figure out, like, am I paying too much or too little? All these things, and medical stuff, scheduling stuff. It's like, I want to be safe. I don't want to trust a $4 trillion company with like personal information. But if it can answer questions that are really, really, really vital and turn, like the last example is like, I need to invoice somebody for a job I did a few months ago. But it was like, instead of like, oh, just give us an invoice, we'll PayPal you the money. It's like, okay, first we need you to onboard you onto our payment system. You need to sign this. Also, we need a user agreement for this, that, and the other. And I haven't gotten around to it because like I actually have almost lost track of all of the emails about all the things I need to do. And if I could just say, Gemini, give me a to-do list of everything I need to do to get paid for this job, and it will just simply give me a table, bip, 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 and here are the PDFs that you need to sign, bip, 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 bip. Here are the emails that refer to this, bip, 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 bip. It's like, that would solve a lot of my problems right now, and maybe I don't mind being exploited by a $4 trillion company if it sometimes helps me out like this.
You know the funny thing you just said, Andy, which cracks me up? How I actually found the spot was because of the breadcrumbs that you leave in Google Maps, because I never turned it off. So it was actually leaking my data privacy actually helped me find my spot again, though. And it was good, by the way. I can send you recommendation if you're in Kyoto.
Yes.
It will be interesting to see what happens. I think Apple did the only thing it could do. I guess that's the bottom line on this. I think you guys would agree. It may not be enough. Here's the question. The world is very rapidly now bifurcating between people who believe AI is transformational and is about to change all of technology. I'm in that camp. And people who say AI, that's the worst thing. It's slop. I guess there's a few people, probably most of the three of you, who are kind of in the middle. But there really is. There is this division happening. There will be people who say, I love Apple because they don't have AI in their,
they do.
In their stuff.
And Apple will make
iPhone 8.
Apple will let you turn it off. I think that's the thing. Is Apple? You can turn Apple Intelligence off now. I think in terms of is it too late? I think only in the sense that Apple should have realized that this was not a game it needed to play a few years ago, and instead it was like, no, we can build it all ourselves, and it is a hump for Apple to get over whenever it decides this is not a thing it needed to do itself. And it couldn't do itself. And they should have recognized that sooner, but they really believed they hired John Giannandrea. He was going to get it done. But I think if you talk to John Giannandrea, he would probably say it was never going to work with Apple because of the way Apple builds products and the way Apple viewed AI and what it was for. And, in terms of the transformationality of AI, I mean, Apple hitching its wagon to a company that's really devoted to this stuff, I think gives it a leg up. If AI utterly transforms everything to the point where you have to question every assumption about everything, then everybody's going to be in the same boat, I think. I think Apple will have to deal with that. Like if the iPhone becomes irrelevant because of AI, then that's bad for Apple, obviously, but that's going to be bad for a whole lot of people. But they're not going. What they're not going to do is be stuck on the side of the road, with their tires off the car, right? Like they are going to be rolling down the road and using a well thought of AI model to run their stuff.
Yeah, and that's something actually you got me thinking about something that I actually hadn't considered before. That what if all these doom and gloomers are at least partially correct, and that AI devices are going to partially replace phones, because Apple is not in a good position to lose like 20% of its phone sales. The thing is, like, especially with this deal with Google, if the next thing really is like a pendant or a pen or an AI that goes through a pair of glasses, they're now in a very good position to have very, very flexible hardware products that they can ship that have AI embedded in them or rely on artificial intelligence in a way that maybe they didn't have that kind of flexibility, even if they had landed on a successful foundation model in a couple of years' time. So they're good.
Elon Musk not happy, apparently.
Sorry,
sending a message to Pam Bondi saying, you really should look into this. It seems like an unreasonable concentration of power for Google.
As a disinterested third party, I'm just concerned about
I don't
the
have a
freedom of the
dog in this
marketplace.
hunt. I don't want you to think that I care.
Oh, and by the way, thank you for integrating Grok into your defense AI system. That was great.
Oh yeah, that's the scariest news of the week.
Yes.
Oh my God, it's kind of crazy. And, it's really weird. I was watching a bunch of coverage from CES last week, and of course, all of the tech tubers, they just all went in like, oh, everything is AI this and AI this and AI this. And I'm like, bro, the Roomba's been swinging AI since 2007. Like, iPhones had it in there since, I think it was iPhone 8, if I remember correctly. It's just now that the terminology is AI, but honestly, machine learning, neural engine stuff has been happening for quite a long time. And the things that we do every day that sort of have this built in, people are right now making a lot of noise about certain stores are now using sort of price adjusting in real time because they have so much data that they can comb through. And I'm like, I know on your end of it as a consumer, it feels painful, but if you had a business that allowed you to actually track enough data to control your pricing the same way, and you didn't do that as a business person, you'd be a bad business person. So like, it's easy to take the victim mindset of it, or you can figure out how to make it work for you too. And I believe that there is definitely a gray area and a gray line, but even so much talk about, what is personal privacy, I think a lot of the people don't realize, unless you use Ghostery or some other app, every site you go to gives up like 80 different data points about you. Safari is probably the best, which is why, Leo and I like shut up Google every time Chrome, like, do you want to download Chrome? But I mean, people, you say you don't want to give out your info.
Okay. That's the same idea.
Same idea, right? But
Yeah.
you're giving up so much information now anyway, and you don't even realize it because so many of the people that are not our people or our audience, I'm not a tech person, I don't want to know that stuff. I'm like, but you're the same one that's crying that says you don't want to give up your private information, and yet you're doing it all the time. And this week, one of us is going to get an email from a friend that owns a PC that says that they want something from us, but it's not really them because their security is so terrible that, you're getting these weird emails supposedly from Jason. I'm like, Jason don't even spell like that, dog. And like, Jason doesn't call me by my government name ever. So I know you're not Jason. I get emails from Glenn.
Name,
I get emails from Ken and Glenn saying to go and buy 2,000 gift cards. And I'm like, so we have a Slack channel called Faker.
You mean your name isn't Doc Rock? Wait a minute.
Well, yeah, we always send in our fake or not screenshots, like if you don't sign this employer agreement right away, you're going to lose all your money. And then, by the way, it costs you $40 to do so. And it's like, yeah, all right.
I'm so embarrassed. I fell for a phishing scam yesterday.
What?
Oh, I'm
Explain.
so stupid. I was foggy. I'd just woken up and I got a text from T-Mobile saying, hey, your points are going to expire. Why don't you get some of these fine items? I clicked the link. I'm such an idiot.
Well, that's the problem because everyone in this conversation is savvy enough to be aware of this sort of thing. But all that has to happen is that a notification appears while you're putting the gas pump back into the handle,
right,
and you're checking to make sure that you weren't overcharged. So,
well, and I am a
done.
T-Mobile customer, and and this is the thing, and I really think companies have to think about this. I get regular text messages, promotional text messages for them. So it was kind of, oh yeah, of course, but it wasn't. And I should have. The giveaway was when I entered a credit card number and said, no, that one's not working. You got another one? And I entered another credit card number and said, no, that's not working either. You got another one? And I entered I put in 3 different credit card numbers before I went, oh, crap. So I immediately canceled all 3 credit cards. The nice thing about the Apple card, so there's a couple of Apple sidelines to this. One of them is, and I should have noticed this when I got the text messages saying, you want to use this credit card, here's the 6-digit number, which I then gave the bad guys after a long delay, right? And then I got a text back saying it's been added to your Apple Wallet. I said, well, no, that's not what I was doing. So the bad guys this was a smart move. They actually took the credit card numbers I gave them and added them to their own Apple Wallet or some other Apple Wallet for anonymity, right? Because now they can go somewhere and use it anonymously. That was part of it. The thing that was good was I did one of the first one I gave it was my Apple Visa. But the nice thing about Apple, you go to the wallet and say, I need to get rid of that number. I need a new number. Yeah. And it's like that. The other 2, I am waiting for a card to be sent to me, and there are some, disconnections I have to go through, reconnect. So there's some pain associated with them. But the Apple thing was very, very easy. I'm such an idiot. The only reason I say this is I just want you to know it can happen to you. It's so easy.
Yeah. A friend of mine messaged me with a malformed video link. And I knew it was malformed because it wasn't popped out into like a YouTube player,
right?
And because he's such a trusted friend, he's someone I chat with almost every day. It's of course I tapped on it. This could have been a malicious. His account could have been compromised. This could be a malicious link, and I just tapped it. It turned out he just pasted it incorrectly. But it's again, the sort of thing that humbles you into thinking that, no, I am not invincible from this. No, I'm not too smart. It's like, again, especially catching you when you're down or when you're distracted by something else. And this is another area in which artificial intelligence is going to be helping out the iPhone, just simply being much, much smarter about being able to catch stuff before it actually interprets, saying, I'm not going to hide, I'm not going to prevent you from clicking this, but realize that this has every single earmark of it's something that your friend has never sent you before, and it has the appearance of being a scam. So for no apparent reason, I'm basically backgrounding this in red and actually having a revolving warning sign GIF next to this. But hey, click on it if you want to.
You'd think I'd know better. The other side of this is they, within 20 minutes, used it, but I had fortunately blocked it. Yeah. So a $500 charge at Lowe's got rejected. And stupid me. Let's take a break. This is just one of many. There's like 5 big stories today. All of a sudden, here we are. It's only the second week of January, and Apple's been busy. Yes, we're going to talk about. We will have our Vision Pro segment soon. We'll talk about, since we're talking about AI, the fact that Anthropic has announced a new feature in its Claude AI designed specifically for Mac users. I have tried it because, foolishly, I am paying for the top-of-the-line Claude account, which you need. You need a Claude Max account to use it, so I'll demo that. There's so much more. There's Golden Globe victories. I could just go on and on. In fact, Claude told me that the Apple Creator Studio should be the #1 story, so I blew that. We'll talk about
super hot.
It's super hot. We'll talk about
it. It's less relevant. I'm glad we started with
I
something
think
that material is the next 5 or 8 years of Apple's future.
I just want to reassure people who are tuning in, saying
exactly.
Well, wait a minute.
We did check the news this morning before we started.
There's
the
a lot more. I had Claude do it for me. There's a lot more. You're watching MacBreak Weekly. Andy Anako is in the house. So is Jason Snell from sixcolors.com, and of course, the fabulous Doc Rock, YouTube celebrity Doc Rock, and of course, Ecamm ambassador. Is that fair to say ambassador?
Actually, now I'm the director of strategic partnerships. I make sure
you work for them.
Yeah, I make sure that things sort of work well with, when people buy hardware and stuff, we want it to kind of line up.
We do it. And I have some hardware that I've already ordered that was announced today that I will be using with Ecamm. But we'll talk about that in just a
Now I want to know.
Hey, everybody. Leo Laporte here with a little bit of an ask. Every year at this time, we'd like to survey our audience to find a little bit more about you. As you may know, we respect your privacy. We don't do anything. In fact, we can't do anything to learn about who you are. And that's fine with me. I like that. But it helps us with advertising. It helps us with programming to know a little bit about those of you who are willing to tell us. Your privacy is absolutely respected. We do get your email address, but that's just in case there's an issue. We don't share that with anybody. What we do share is the aggregate information that we get from these surveys. Things like 80% of our audience buy something they heard in an ad on our shows, or 75% of our audience are IT decision makers. Things like that are very helpful with us when we talk to advertisers. They're also very helpful to us to understand what operating systems you use, what content you're interested in. So, enough. Let me just ask you, if you will, go to twit.tv/survey26 and answer a few questions. It should only take you a few minutes of your time. We do this every year. It's very helpful to us. Your privacy is assured, I promise you. And of course, if you're uncomfortable with any question or you don't want to do it at all, that's fine too. But if you want to help us out a little bit, twit.tv/survey26. Thank you so much. And now, back to the show. All right, well, let's talk about the Creator Studio. This is Apple's response, clearly, to Adobe.
Yep. And Affinity.
And Affinity, which is also, but Affinity doesn't have the full range of packages. The Apple Creator Studio, which will be $13 a month, $129 a year. But, and this, I was quick to check this out, it can be a family, does count for a family plan unless you get the education version, which means for $129, everybody in my family, 6 people in my family can use it. And that makes it a pretty good deal. You get Final Cut Pro, which is normally $300, one time only. They're still going to offer, by the way, the one time only for all of these. But who would pay on Mac? Who would pay $300 for Final Cut Pro when for $129 a year? I don't know. Logic Pro, also still expensive. Pixelmator Pro finally gets a home. Apple acquired that in 2024, but now it's part of this Creator Studio. Motion, compressor, these are Final Cut features. Main stage. But it also is going to take the iWork suite. It's still going to offer that for free, but it's now more freemium. Keynote, Pages, and Numbers will have additional features if you buy the subscription. Jason, is this a good deal?
I think Apple building a Pro bundle with Final Cut, Logic, and Pixelmator and putting it on iPad and Mac for if you think about it, a relatively low price. That's about what I pay for just Photoshop. And if you're paying for more of the Adobe Suite, it's a lot less than that. And it's not giving you everything that Adobe Suite is or that Affinity offers, but you're getting video, audio, and photo all in one place. I think Apple this is why they bought Pixelmator, right? Like they wanted
the one missing piece. They didn't have a photo editor
for this, right? So I think it's good that they offer this. I think that this kind of high-end suite is a great use of the subscription model. And if you use even one of these apps, but certainly if you use two of these apps, I think it's actually a pretty good deal. And
I've already paid for Final Cut and Logic. But they changed that to a subscription on the iPad, didn't they?
On the iPad, only on the iPad. It has always been a subscription since they came with this. It's a subscription thing. It's been
so you get Mac and iPad versions for that.
Yeah, when you subscribe, you get the Mac and iPad versions for monthly or annual. I think strategically it's a good move, and their apps are actually pretty good. There are probably some holes here that they might want to fill down the road, but maybe not. Maybe this is, it's not a bad combination to roll them all together. I have
to think Alex Lindsay knew about this when he left us.
It's possible.
The fruit company.
It's quite possible.
This was one of the things.
Somebody
factors.
So
I wish he were here to tell us what he thinks, but he won't. He can't.
Well, ironically, now that he works at Apple, he could definitely afford to buy them outright. So I don't know what he's trying to.
That's true.
How he's trying to cheap out of
That's a good point.
So the part that I don't entirely understand is where Keynote, Pages, and Numbers factor in, because they're not creative apps. They were the iWork suite. They're very different apps. You get them for free, but what this announcement says is that there are new features and content that will come if you're a subscriber. Now, the content part I get. Like, part of being an Adobe subscriber, whatever it is, you get like a content bundle. You get access to clip art, or you get access to templates or whatever. Like, I don't have a problem with that. That if you're paying for the Creator Studio, it's not the Creative Suite. That's a different company's product. The Creator Studio, it's still CS. It is kind of logical that it's like, oh yeah, we have some beautiful templates that are just for you, and beautiful imagery that you can use in your presentations and stuff like that. Like, okay, it's a little weird, but okay. But them saying that they're going to be some productivity, it seems like features.
That's kind
numbers.
Of interesting. I could see as a nice little sweetener, we're going to give you some templates for Pages and Keynote. But
I got the numbers one for you, full stop, and we could use it today as we sit here in this particular guy. Okay, so numbers being connected to Final Cut Pro, also being connected to Pixelmator, now
might be the big thing, huh?
Now states that when I'm going to do, MacBreak Weekly 1008, I can just say it's going to be Doc and Andy, Leo and Jason, and it can generate all the lower thirds on the fly. I don't have to sit there and edit each one of the lower thirds as a person. I mean, I'm a creator, so I use this stuff every day.
What does it use for that? Numbers?
Yeah, you can use numbers because that's the CVS. That is a drugstore, my friend.
Does it have the COVID shot and the flu shot? I'm just curious.
Yes, it can use the CSV or the TSV.
And now with AI-generated content, those receipts will be even longer. You're welcome.
Oh my God, right? But so being able to do things like that. Also, Leo, if I'm using Logic to do the cut down of the show, and I say, okay, now that you know how to do transcripting, you also should be able to go and find me those highlights and help me generate those reels. So it's going to get me those timestamps, which is now connected to Final Cut, so I can get the audio, the video, and then the transcript, and I can build that in Final Cut, and I can export reels really quickly with various assets. And because of the content library that I hope that they build like Adobe, my B-roll stuff is easier,
It's a really good ecosystem play.
Yeah, it's a great ecosystem. Even being able to take my script that I wrote inside of Pages, but then I'm going to record that inside of Ecamm, and then I'm going to go and edit that inside of Final Cut Pro. I can say, compare my script to what I said and pre-cut it for me. And there's already apps that do that, but they require 4 different apps. And if you can tighten those things up, and Premiere has this on lock, which is the only reason why anybody still loves Premiere versus the way that, say, DaVinci and Final Cut does it, is because Premiere does have some auto cut, which, now Apple is going to be able to do with Final Cut, because again, I can compare the script with the recorded thing and then have it go in and, chop. And the only reason why I know this, fam, is I literally last year, I created 600 videos. I made a long form video every day for 419 days. I didn't hit 420 because I was lost in Kyoto looking for the udon shop. But legit, so because I do this every day, I can totally see where all of this ties in, and it's going to be amazeballs.
So I get the ways it can tie in, but if you're a numbers user who doesn't use Final Cut or Logic, this is where I draw the line.
So who's this aimed at? Is it aimed at?
Just
Numbers is still going to be free. That's not going
Numbers is going to be free, but Numbers is going to have formula generation and table fill features that are ML features that are going to be paywalled behind this design studio, this creative studio, which seems like a complete mismatch to me, right? Like they're turning. I don't love the idea that in order to chase services revenue, Apple is taking these apps that you get and making them freemium, but I don't like that. I think that features are different from templates and media assets. And so to withhold new features from Keynote or Pages or Numbers, unless you pay for this, not super expensive, but if it's not apps you use and you're a numbers user, it just kind of stinks. And I don't see how those, you can use them together, but there are also plenty of people who are never going to use Final Cut or Logic who are going to use Numbers and Keynote and Pages. So I don't, again, media unlocked by the subscription, I get it, but features unlocked by the subscription, I hate it. I hate it. I think it's I think it's really gross, and that it's this subscription makes it worse. That it's not hey, we've been giving you iWork forever for free, and now we're going to build services revenue on you, so we're going to charge you for an iWork subscription. At least that would be kind of orthogonal to what the apps are. But instead, it's just oh yeah, some numbers features require you to buy Final Cut now. I don't like it.
It kind of really highlights how disappointed I've been in. Really, the iWork suite and the iLife suite have been fallow for so long. When was the last?
Well, maybe now it'll have the money and they'll be interested in making it work, right?
And I hope that it's not. We will materially add useful features, and not just simply add features, but we will reconsider the workflow of creating a movie with iMovie. We will reconsider the workflow of creating music with GarageBand as time goes by, as the creative world changes. And it's not just, we added an upgrade for Apple Intelligence, or we added an upgrade so that now it actually works with this new iCloud feature that we put in last year. I really thought that iWork and iLife were one of the highlights of Apple, because it was a chance for Apple to show off what makes a Mac, what makes an iPad an iPad. It's not just, as much as I love Adobe Lightroom, it is manifestly we have created an interface that we can port to wherever it needs to go. We are going to take advantage of the opportunities provided to us by the Mac and by the Mac's APIs. And that was a chance for Apple to do that stuff with iWork and iLife. And I think they sort of let that slide by. I will say that I don't know what the market is for people who are actually using the Pro tools as pros. That if spending a couple $100s or a few $100s for Final Cut is just, we don't even think about that because we're going to make that back in the first 3 weeks. I do love the fact that a new generation of creators that absolutely could not afford $300 for Final Cut Pro are not, but I can afford $12 and a half bucks. And I can even convince myself that I can afford $12 and a half bucks. Now that Spotify is raising its prices and I've decided I don't need Spotify anymore, ditto for Netflix, ditto for Hulu, like I suddenly have an extra $12 in the kitty. Having not just this one app, but an entire suite of apps. So not only can this person afford to have Final Cut Pro instead of iMovie, they can afford to have Logic Pro. They can afford to have motion graphics. They can have everything. And the ability to grow as creators and to basically take this creative idea they've got in their head and turn it to something they can actually share and maybe even like make a living off of. As much as we don't like things going into a subscription model, like you never own this app. You're always infinitely going to have to be paying for this until the mountains tumble into the sea. I do like the fact that it turns a crippling $300, $400, $500, $600 purchases into can you afford $20 or less a month during the 1 or 2 months that you want to try these things out, or during the 2 or 3 months that you have this one project going on. Many people can say yes where they cannot say yes before. So that's why I like this idea.
You just said the key thing right there. I know people who run businesses that only need Final Cut like 3 times a year. So that means that at $13, right, they can get in there and they can crank it out those 3 times and they can be done with it and they never have to turn it back on. The other thing which Leo said, which not a lot of folks pay attention to. Now, I am one of those people who thought that I should use B&W as a child, so I don't have no kids. But people who have kids who are in the education system, the kid can turn it on for $2.99, and you can literally use it for $3 3 times. And from the time I worked at Apple to not working at Apple, you know what Apple is really bad at? Checking your education status. So more than likely, if you really wanted to be that person, you probably can get it for $3 because Apple's terrible at checking.
We're not advocating that in any way, shape, or form.
No. But I've had that. We for Upgrade, whenever we do a live recording, and we've done a couple of them this year, I just turn on. I've been turning on Final Cut for iPad in order to use Final Cut Camera and capture all the cameras and stuff. And it's great because I just turn it on, I use it, and then I cancel it, and I pay for 1 month. And there are so many people who have those issues, and this is one of the, again, it is the positive thing about subscriptions. Is it's not great, it's yet another subscription, but there are also, these apps used to be all of these apps, all the creative apps, not just from Apple, Adobe apps too, they all used to be so expensive that if you were somebody who needed to do a project, you couldn't. Because there's no way you're going to spend $900 or $1,000 or $500 or $300 in order to do a project. And now you can. You can pick up a project, you pay for a month, you do your project, and then you turn it back off. And that's a good thing. I'm stopped a little bit on the idea that Apple threw iWork in here and it doesn't
do we
feel
know
like a
though
great
that
fit.
that it'll be significant features that are added?
We don't know what they are.
Only. We don't know what they are.
We don't know what they are, but when they're describing like autofill in tables and numbers, like it doesn't. That sounds like it sounds like you're doing a freemium model where you have to buy a totally different bundle in order to get some new features. And in the long run, do most of the new features get added in that way where you're paying for this thing? It feels like a bad fit. And I wonder if there's another shoe to drop at some point, because it's not a bad fit if those features are also available just in iWork for $20 a year or something, but to have to pay $100 and some a year for Final Cut and Logic in order to get autofill and numbers just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So we'll see what they do.
It doesn't look like there will be a standalone paid version of iWork. You either use the free version or you use the package.
Yeah,
and there's stuff
that's Jason's hang up. Yeah. Well, it's funny because a lot of people forget that Final Cut Studio was $9.99.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I had the box, the giant, heavy box full of manuals and all that. It was
have
grand.
That box.
Yeah,
that box is in the back room somewhere. But it was a massive box. It was huge, and I didn't pay $1,000. I worked at Apple at the time, but even then, we had to pay like $200. Like it wasn't even one of those things where you just got it free as an employee. Like it was so huge that the books alone was kind of ridiculous. And the thing is, in the creator space, so many, this drives me nuts. In the creator space, so many creators want everything for free. But yet they want to get the first question at any creator conference I do: how do I get brand deals? How do I get paid? How do I monetize? Right now, a whole bunch of the tech tubers I saw this morning are complaining about, oh, Apple, they did what no one's going to do. They made a subscription app and blah, blah, blah. I hate subscription apps. You know what every one of those guys has at the bottom of their screen on YouTube? The join button.
Yeah.
Right.
To join their monthly
Doing a
membership.
subscription. We do a
And I'm like, dude, you know how foolish you sound. You legit have a pay me $10 a month to get my behind the scene content, but Apple cannot charge for this. So like, if you're
It's
in my
likely
position,
that they, by the way, already own
100%
Final Cut and Logic,
Final
probably,
Cut,
right?
DaVinci, or something of that nature. So they don't
A lot
have
of people
to
in our
do
chat room
this.
saying, "Oh no, I own Final Cut. I already own Logic. I already own
And
Pixelmator."
It's never going away, right? If
Right.
you have those things,
It won't be.
it's never
Will
going
it not
away.
be updated? Do you think?
No, it's going to be updated. That's the other part. Okay, so I bought the Final Cut that I'm currently using. I bought when I was at University of Hawaii, and I legit paid $2.99 for it. I have not given it another cent other than what Jason said, turning on the iPad apps for when we're at CES or Comdex or MacStock, where I need to be on the road and do things on the road. Other than that, I just do it on my computer because it's just easier and the muscle memory is there. But I would legit turn it on. It's like $4.99. I'll flip it on so I can do some edits in the plane. And it's like, that's worth the $5 because, sorry, Elon, we got Starlink on Hawaiian and Alaskan Airlines. So it's fast.
Right.
It's fast. It's faster than my dang house half the time. So yeah, it's just one of those really, really weird situations. And again, like, people don't realize how much this stuff costs. Even like, well, I can't believe they charge us for the streaming service. They should give it for free. How much did it cost to make F1? Or Ted Lasso, or The Morning Show? Like, these shows aren't free, bro. It's not like TV where we had commercials, and we're still complaining about ads. Like, you can't, create this stuff. Is not free. Even what Leo is doing, and Leo charges probably the least amount of anybody out here doing what he's doing. And some people are like, oh, I don't want to pay a subscription to get a podcast. I'm like, do you know how much it costs for us to sit here?
Yeah.
And like right now, I'm being paid by Ken and Glenn to sit here. Don't tell them I'm supposed to be at work right now. But like, fam, like, you don't work for free. Why should anybody else?
Right.
And,
Like,
and in fact,
please,
This can of
Apple's,
Coke cost me $1.25.
Apple's
That adds
Pro
up.
apps have traditionally been, even when it was the pay model,
It was
that you'd
cheap.
pay and then they would update it for years and years
Yeah,
and
it's a good
years,
deal.
and you
Yeah.
did not have to. I think the last time I paid was Final Cut 10. But
Switching from
I've
7
used,
to 10.
Yeah, I've used Final Cut for like 15 years and paid for a one time maybe. Like, I think it is untenable for anybody other than Apple to do that. I think having a subscription model where while you use it, you pay, and then if you're not using it, you stop, is completely reasonable, and in fact motivates updates. One of the
100%.
best things about me paying $100 a year for Photoshop for the last decade
Yes.
is that there's a new version of Photoshop every now and then, and I just don't sweat it. I'm like, okay, I don't want it right now. Or then later I'll say, all right, yeah, sure, Photoshop 2026, let's do it. It doesn't matter because it's just there if I want it, but I just pay for Photoshop to have it. It's like a utility. I want it. It exists. And it is in many ways a healthier model if it's an app that you rely on and that provides value for money. And so, that's the thing, is that not every app is like that. Not every app it can provide that kind of value. So you gotta gauge how you make it. I mean, I bought an Affinity app. I bought Affinity Designer specifically because I only needed it occasionally, and there was no way I was going to get Adobe Illustrator, right, and pay for it because it was not the value for me was not there. So everybody has to make their own decisions. I'll just say one more time, I don't love the idea that iWork, which is sort of like this makes your Mac work, is a freemium product now. And I really don't like that there's no way for people who are not media creators to get those features. We don't know exactly what those features are, when they're going to roll out. They talked about them being in beta. I'm unclear. Is the beta access what you get, and then eventually they go into the free? There's a lot of questions without detailed answers about the iWork aspect of this.
We will find out a little more Wednesday,
find
January 28th. That's when this goes on sale. I will probably sign up, even though I own 3 of the tools, and I will never use Motion Compressor or Mainstage. I don't.
Your compressor is really, really good, by the way.
Yeah, I know. Alex always.
Yeah,
but I don't
it's really good.
compress nothing. Now
it's
we
really
have a
slept
team
on.
of editors. They're using right now Premiere, but maybe, I don't know, maybe that will make sense. They're kind of in my family, right?
What I'm hoping for Jason, and I'm gonna go get my Tiki dolls out later, is I really would like there to be an iWork Pro that is like $3 or $4 a month that will bring in some
nice
of
to
that
buy that. Yeah.
It's okay.
that Gemini mixed in and allow these things to work for the people who don't do the creative stuff, because that would really help out. Say my other half, her business is real estate and she's not using any of those Pro Tools, but she could definitely use the features that make pages and numbers,
Well, let's see what Apple does. Remember,
better.
Apple doesn't have to, they're not a software company. They don't have to make money on software. They make money on hardware. And all of this really is about you buying another Mac and another iPad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and I think they have decent profit margins. I think they're doing okay.
Until phones kind of slowed down, I think I went a long time without paying for Apple TV Plus because I kept buying new Apple devices and I kept getting the 6 months. And so, you were kind of good for a while. Eventually, when Apple One came out, I just got Apple One,
And to this point, by the way, new subscribers get a 1 month free trial. But if you buy a Mac or qualifying iPad, you get 3 months for free. So they're definitely going, see, you might want to get this. The education price is $2.99 a month or $30 a year. 6 family members. See, I have several creators in my family. Besides me, my daughter uses Logic. My son, well, he's using DaVinci, but he could easily switch to Final Cut. Maybe would like to. Then it really makes sense if you've got a few people using it. And Lisa, I don't think I'll ever get Lisa switched from Excel to numbers, but who knows? Maybe. So there's, I think this is. Especially if you're comparing it to Adobe, it's a great deal. If you're comparing it to DaVinci Resolve, not such a hot deal. If you're comparing it to Linux, a terrible deal. We live in a world with choice, and you have choices. And I think
the best part about being here is I don't really think I would have thought of Jason's point because I am a creator and most of my friends are creators, well, except for the other half. And when you say that these cool features and numbers and pages are going to be held hostage by Creator Studio, that never even crossed my mind. So I love the fact that we have this sort of mix of brains. And Leo, tell Lisa I need her mom's Sunday sauce recipe. Send it.
Oh, I think that can be arranged. It's actually my recipe.
Oh, well, let's do this.
Which she has modified, and it came from Marcella Hazan, who was the queen of Italian.
And I need to order some more umami powder. Hank, he got me. I put that joint on popcorn.
Oh, I know, it's good. And I have your rice, so it's all what goes around comes around. Actually, I bought another bag.
It's a fair switch.
Yeah,
we should make a subscription to that.
But I love that rice, and Lisa loves that rice. I tried another. We talked about this last time you were on. Tried another brand, but man, the Zojirushi with the whatever it is. What's the name of it? Rice is
Koshi Hikari.
Koshi Hikari is very tasty. Very tasty. All right. Well, that was story number 2. You're watching MacBreak Weekly. Jason Snell, Andy Anako, Dr. Rakta. Love to have all 3 of you on, but let's continue with the 3rd story of the day. And I think this might be a good time to play the Vision Pro theme.
What do you see? What do you know? It's time to talk the Vision Pro.
Really legitimate Vision Pro news on this, the nation's premier Vision Pro podcast.
That's right. Perhaps the world's.
Doc, do you have a Vision Pro?
Yes, I do.
Okay, wait a minute. Now we're
Back up to 2.
We're back to 2. This is good. Doc, you may have just put yourself in the front of the line for Alex Lindsay's replacement.
The dumbest thing I did, though, because I thought I would use more of the computer side of it, is I upgraded all of the memory stuff. So I went 5 Gs on it, which was really ignorant because I really just used it for a monitor. But
yikes.
I just use it. I bought the cheapest one. So Leo,
NBA basketball.
NBA basketball on Vision Pro. It happened Friday night, and then there's a replay that people can watch on the NBA app now. I watched it. I watched the first quarter, even though I was not in the LA area. Somehow I got in there. I don't know really how it worked, but I did. You did a little
Oh,
VPN.
so you watched it live?
I watched it live, and I think the most remarkable thing is we've been talking about this, and Alex and I especially been talking about this of like, how do you do it live? And like, obviously they struggled they to get the hardware together, and they're Blackmagic cameras, but they're live versions, and I don't know what's involved in that, but they had to do kind of like they had to build a production studio where they've got multiple immersive cameras at a stadium, and then they had announcers and they switched between camera angles and they did a full-on thing. So I see why it took them so long. The most amazing thing about it is that it didn't seem unreasonable. I wondered, is it going to be low quality? Is it going to be really up to the standards of some of the other immersive stuff we've seen? And it was. Now, I have a fast internet connection at home, but like it was not weird in some way because it was live. It was an immersive video. They did a really good job. Those Blackmagic cameras are really good.
The only video I've seen is the one from underneath the basket.
Okay, so they had a few different cameras, including one that was at the scorer's table, so right at the center of the court.
Oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah.
And then underneath and behind both baskets. And so what they did is they experimented. It really was an experiment. They did some possessions from the scorer's table. So you are courtside, looking left and right and watching the game unfold before you. And then for some positions, they did a switch where you are, when they're at one end of the court, you're down at that end watching them straight on behind the basket. And then when they run to the other end, it flips around and now you're at the other end. And you have to reorient. And so, some people, like Ben Thompson at Stratechery, basically said, why did you do that? Just let me sit with the one angle at courtside. It's amazing. I have to be honest, I didn't like the courtside look as much as I liked the behind the basket looks, because you're seeing the front of the players as they're very close to you. Whereas if you're in the middle of the court, you're seeing their backs down there, and then they run down here and you're seeing their backs down there, and you're a little further away from them. The difference is, and what Ben's complained about is, every time you make a switch, your brain is like, whoa, where am I now? Right? And it's not a TV screen, it's a bigger thing. That said, and so I think first off, that we need options. I think the right thing to do is to say, would you like to just sit courtside and have there be an option to just
2 channels,
just stream that camera?
right?
Exactly. You can have
switch.
just a couple of different options. But I will say this too. I generally agree with Ben Thompson that too many cuts in an immersive video is bad. It's bad. It takes you out of the immersion. That said, once I figured out that they were just toggling back and forth between this side and that side, and that when a guy was going away from me on my right side, headed down to the other end, and then it flipped, I knew he was going to be on my left side, coming up this way.
That's like crossing the line.
And it is super crossing the line. But what I would say is, when we started doing cuts in movies,
maybe we'll get used to it.
People had to learn the grammar of film.
Right.
When they started doing instant replays in sports, they had to tell people they didn't just score another touchdown. That was a replay of what had come before. Army has not scored again, I believe, is the famous line that they said.
Yeah, and it's funny because we did get used to it, and they barely mentioned. We now know, that's a replay.
That's a replay. So I would argue that in just a few minutes, totally my brain figured out how to handle the cut between the two different shots at the two ends of the court.
Grammar is such a good way to put this. I really like that model.
It's like film grammar. It's different. So I personally would rather have that view of the game, where Ben would personally prefer the courtside view.
Ben said Apple, his headline was, "You still don't understand the Vision Pro."
I think he overstates it. I mean, and he and I were in full agreement that their quick cut sports highlights packages were a disaster.
That's not good. No,
because you lose all immersion when you do that. Yeah. But I would say that I actually kind of liked the behind the basket with again, they're minimal cuts. And they did some replays that were hilarious because they put up a big replay graphic, but they're replaying something at the same camera angle because it's a fixed camera. And so it's like there's a jump cut and then there's a jump back to live action and that part. They got some stuff to work on. But bottom line, and Ben would agree with me on this, did they succeed at making it feel like you were at the basketball game and doing it while they were streaming it live? And the answer is yes. Like, this could work. There needs to be much more work put into it. And I think they do need to make some decisions about, personally, I mean, because Amazon does this with their NFL broadcast, you can have different options, right? Like, I would love Ben to be able to choose. I would love to be able to choose a different option. I also think it's arguable about whether you even need announcers. They had announcers that were custom for Vision Pro, so they'd literally say, "Oh, there's Doc Rivers off to the left of your Vision Pro." And we're like, "Whoa, he's talking to me."
Weird. Yeah.
But I'm not sure you need it if the sound is good and you've got the PA announcer. I don't think you need a score bug because you've got the scoreboard to look at. I think.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right?
That's a good point. You're at the game.
You could make it more.
What would you have at the game if you went to the game?
Yeah.
That's what you would have.
My only other technical criticism is I don't think they've nailed the sound yet. I think the sound was more flat. And one of the things that Alex and I learned when we were down in Cupertino is audio is part of the immersive experience. Spatial audio really is part of that experience. And I think they didn't nail that part. But I really couldn't be more impressed because I did not believe it would be as good as a regular immersive video, basically. And it was like I was there on the floor at wherever it is the Lakers play. I don't even know the name of it anymore. It's not the Fabulous Forum anymore. They moved.
Crypto.com.
Crypto.com are now just, jeez. Okay.
How long is that
we'll just call it the place that the Lakers play then.
Yeah.
I still call it Staples Center.
Yeah, I think of it as Staples Center myself.
Yeah,
that was easy.
I call it Crypto Arena.
No. But anyway, so the answer is it was pretty good. If you could keep this up, I think you could sell some Vision Pros to fans.
I think you're right.
I also think it's optimal. I think a basketball court is so small and the players are so large.
Yeah, it's made for it.
And the depth is. I think it is maybe the perfect live sport experience.
I can't think of any other sport that would do as well.
When
he makes the point, Ben does, that the reason he likes the scoring table one is if you ever sat courtside, which I have once on an NBA game, it is a completely different experience because you get a sense of the size and the power of these guys.
And the depth where the ball, like they're behind each other and the ball is coming and going and having it be three-dimensional.
Yeah.
It's like, so you're looking across the chessboard instead of just at the flat version that's on TV. Yeah, it's really
and he said
impressive.
that was good. That's why he liked that score table thing. But on the other hand, he also points out that the board seats aren't bad either. He says these are also not bad seats. I've had the good fortune of sitting under the basket as well.
Yeah.
This is where you get a sense of not just the power, but the physicality. So what? Yeah, maybe don't switch. Maybe give me the choice, and I'll switch when I feel like it. How about that?
Yeah, I think that is probably the way forward. And I would probably choose to have the switch between the back of the basket views because I thought that was the most fun. But if you're give people a choice, I think. But I think the truth is also that we don't really know what the grammar is going to be. And what the core of Ben's argument is right, which is there are obviously people at Apple who think lots of cuts in immersive video is fine. And it's not. It's not. That, like, whatever you're thinking, take the length of time you're thinking of holding that shot and triple it, right? Like, that's really what's going on here. And he's not wrong in saying they sort of directed it like it was a 2D television broadcast. You need to take your foot off the gas. But the good news is because this is all streaming, what you really could do is just offer options.
That's the point he makes. He says when you try to do it like an NBA broadcast, that's expensive. You have to have a studio. You have to have
announcers,
a host. You have to have a production crew. It's very expensive. Alex gave me a tour of the Amazon trucks, and there's like 6 of them for Thursday Night Football. Unbelievably complex. Yeah. But Ben's saying, you just put a camera.
The Lakers are going to play music and have an announcer who tells you who scored. Game. And they already have built an entertainment experience for everybody who's at the game. So if you're at the game, you get that entertainment experience.
And I kind of would need feel
more.
That.
And I think there's truth in that.
I would rather feel that I'm at the stadium than watching what I could already watch on TV with just a different set of cuts.
Yeah.
And you run into that when you're watching, say, like WSN versus watching ESPN for basically the same game, right? So in a way, I think the idea, like you said, is great. Also think, here's the cool thing. When we get, I understand during the game you're cutting it live. But when you get to show me the game after the fact, just put all 3 angles up and let me use my hand to switch the gestures as I'm watching it. You know what I'm saying? So just put all 3, run them simultaneously, and just let me pull the trigger. Now, I understand that might be
like
more
the
difficult.
multi-view. on
Yes.
on YouTube TV, where I choose the
YouTube
game I want to watch. Yeah.
100%. So I think that these things are going to be good. I'm excited about this. When they don't show the fakers and they show the Celtics, then I'll watch.
By the way, you must
but-
be happy the Fakers lost in the
100%. Like yo,
How embarrassing to lose.
ever since Larry Bird, I've been anti-Lakers. I've been a hardcore Celtics fan since day one.
What do you
So,
think
yeah,
about F1 in this format?
I
What
was
would
just
they
going to
do?
say, I was just going to ask that question. Do you remember Super Speedway? I was going to say 1977. It's not that old. 1997, I believe. Super Speedway was the movie where you basically sat in a car with Michael Andretti on IMAX, and he drove you around the track at
Oh, wow.
insane things. I still have this Blu-ray somewhere. It was really incredible, and that was the first time you're getting to see what we now know as the steering wheel computer, and
Right.
you can see him looking around and checking things out. You could even see on the tires as they expand and shrink. This will be freaking amazing for F1. And the hardest part about that is at the speed they're traveling, the data transmission of letting me jump in the car with Lewis and then letting me jump in the car with Lando and then letting me jump in the car with Yuki, who I just root for because he's such a nutcase. I
You
wanna-
like him because he's Japanese, let's face it.
No,
Come
100%, but he's also a nutcase. Like his only English is swear words.
on. I know. But man, his radio
What
is
else do you
great.
need?
I love listening to you.
His radio is the best. I could listen to him for the whole race. What you guys
But this
doing?
is the point, and this is what Apple's inheriting, which is a production that has all the radios for all 20
Yeah.
drivers,
Yeah.
all the driver views for all 20 drivers.
That's why I think-
and the race view
Yeah, this is
plus
why
the
I
race
think
announcement. I mean, this
immersive-
is a lot of data.
I think immersive is not the right answer for F1 because
Yes.
you're not going to have immersive in a car because of the bandwidth of it,
you're
and
gonna puke.
what you want, and you could have immersive like by the side of the road, but it's just going to be zip, and then they're gone. But what you want there is a big dashboard. You want a live track in front of you in 3D that you're watching like it's toy cars. You want multiple. You want to get that full on Adrian Veidt and Watchmen thing where you've got like just monitors. That was for Andy. Monitors everywhere.
That's
of,
how
like,
I watch.
and with the sound, and the sound is coming from those monitors in various places, and
But you
choose.
can do that in immersive, right? You
Yeah.
could have the track on a coffee table in front of you.
Yes,
you could have all
but
the
not
monitors.
immersive video. It would be
Yeah.
a different kind of
No, no.
experience. But
Right.
I agree. Yeah, that's the right approach for F1.
I wanna
is to
see
have it be
Ricardo
multiple
Adami's
streams of
screen.
video and 3D
Right.
tracks and stuff.
Right.
Right, Leo?
Stats.
I want to see Ricardo Adami's screen while I'm watching Lewis hit the
Wouldn't that
track.
be cool?
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then when Ricardo
He's
says,
talking about
hey,
when the team has, they all sit in a
The
row. It's so
engineer.
cute, and they have all these screens and they have their radios in front of them, and all you
Yeah.
see is the back of their heads most of the time. But it looks like they got a pretty cool view of what's going on during the
right,
race.
they're running the stock market live at crazy amount of
exactly,
data points.
exactly.
And then
Multiple
I want to see the part where he says, okay, no, we're going to stretch these tires. And Lewis is like, no, come in. I want to look at it and I almost want to be
I
able
wanna
to
see the
chat with
data.
Ricardo and be like, nah, dog, get
Yeah.
him in. It's about to rain.
Well, that's a
in
vision.
couple
That's the other
seconds.
side of the Vision Pro. It can give you a lot of data because it has a huge field of view. So you
Right.
could do that instead of being immersive.
Yeah.
Right.
So
And
that's a good point. Yeah.
And it could be that like immersive video is nice, but AI on a sport like F1, I think would be the real boon, because there is, like everyone's saying, there is so much data being collected, not just video data, but actually just numbers spilling off of all of these cars, that over time, it's basically for an AI to learn, here is what I'm interested in. I'm interested in these drivers. If something very surprising happens in the backpack, I'm interested in that as well. I'm particularly interested in these 4 drivers. I'm interested in tire changes. I'm interested in pit times. I'm interested in this, and it will be very, very coarse to begin with. But even over the course of one race, by the end, yes, I can still have full control over what I'm looking at. But there's also these live infographics and these live feeds being put together on the side of my main display that is tracking the things that really keep me absolutely 100% engaged in the sport. There's sports that I never really got into, including the NBA, chiefly because with my level of perception of what's going on, it's like people are moving from right to left and they sink a basket. Now people are moving from left to right and they sink. Oh, nope, they didn't sink the basket. Now they're moving to the left again. There's so much going on that I only see when I see somebody later put together a video of what was actually going on. the ability
Maybe we
of
found the
a
killer
dynamic
app.
sort of thing. Yeah.
This might be the killer app for the Vision Pro. This might be the thing the Vision Pro was waiting
Remember that
for.
there were developers making like an F1 app that were using data
Yeah,
from F1 that basically
Viewer,
gave you
which
that
I've used, and yes, and they
mysteriously
pulled that.
disappeared.
Yeah, so I'm hoping Apple
either
bought it.
because
Yeah.
F1 said, "Yeah, we're not going to sue you, but you're not allowed to use our data that way," or because they were simply like Operation Paperclipped into the machine, saying, "This is really great. We would like you to not make it free, and we would like you to work for us from now on." We don't know what happened, but we'd love to see that again.
Well,
Yeah, that would be just so crazy, though, to be able to see all these things. And I think of so many different sports where I would love this. I would love this in football round. Football oblong, when we get to the point where you can put, like, I can see Saquon. I want to see how this fool find these holes. This dude, he's so little and shifty, and he does this little thing. And next thing you know, it's like he's tackled. Nope, he's not tackled. There he goes. He's gone. Like, how did he get out of that? Like, I would like to be able to see, the front helmet cam of Saquon Barkley when he finds these little cracks to slip through. It didn't work for San Francisco, but he's an amazing runner. I would like to see even like the quarterback read sometime. Like, what did you see? Why did you throw that interception? You ding dong. That dude was not open. I think these are all things that would just be absolutely, even for golf. We got the ball track, catapult systems. I think they did ball track first, and then it actually was hockey. Hockey had it first.
Yeah.
Remember the puck with the blue line?
On Fox.
I want to call that like 94 or something.
Oh, yeah.
And so Hawkeye turned into, and then catapult is the other one that brings you the yellow lines in football and things like that. And then we got Skycam. So we've been working at this for a minute. If there's a way to tie all of this in, and then you add the AWS data overlays on top of it.
those are always stupid.
You think
I'm
so?
sorry.
I
There was a
like- I like
32%
seeing
chance of him catching that. What is
Oh,
that?
no,
That's
not those.
stupid.
I like the speed and the velocity
Oh, yeah,
and
that
the love
stuff.
attack
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah.
But like the guess
There
of
is
how-
a good camera and the F1 AWS camera with how close they came to the wall.
Yeah, that
I
kind of
really
stuff.
enjoy.
But trying to put a percentage on somebody like ODB catching the ball, you can't guess that. That dude is a phenom. He will catch a ball with like the ends of his fingertips, and you've seen it in that one Giants catch that we see over and over again. That was a mathematical improbability. So those parts are dumb, but some of the speed math and, like you said, how close did they get to the wall type of stuff.
That is cool, I admit. That's the one
It makes your heart
AWS
pump
stat I
more,
enjoy.
and that's part of the fun of watching it.
So, well, I think we're all in agreement that the sports is live sports, especially, is going to be a great opportunity
Could
for
be.
Apple with the Vision Pro.
And they seem to be capable of doing it now. So
Finally.
the question is now what? There are 7
Plus
more Lakers
investing in
games
it.
for them to try, and then
Yeah.
will they try it with baseball or MLS or something? I don't
used
think
the
it'll be as
Blackmagic,
successful.
Ursas,
Guys, what about
right, for
NASA
that?
launches? How would you like to sit in a chair when one of our space knots goes up?
I need
and you
a
can-
butt kicker subwoofer
Exactly.
under
If
the
you,
chair.
Yeah,
don't,
that's
if you
the
don't
thing.
feel it in the chest,
That's the
you're not
thing.
there.
But I mean, I would love to try a baseball game. I just don't think it's going to be as good because
No.
you're not going to get a lot of depth out of it. And
Not the way the
but
Sox
still,
are
it could be real interesting to try it. Why not try it? Right? We're obviously
Also-
at the infancy of all of this, so give it a try.
I think it's
other-
almost a gimmicky thing that you could just throw in there. I mean, we got tickets once. For some reason, the Giants Stadium has on deck seats that are below the level of the field, like the field's eye level, and you're looking up, and the on deck
Squirrel cam.
Yeah, the on deck batter is right there. It's kind of interesting to hear how people yell at them.
I think baseball would be weird because baseball is one of those sports where it's the director in the truck who tells this amazing story from all of these different angles. Baseball is different from any other sport because there are these incredibly intense, dramatic, quiet moments in which it's just a pitcher facing off against a batter. And things are and the infield is coming in, and one of them looks a little bit nervous. All of these shots that are selected at the exact right time, all the way to realizing that George Brett is is looking really, really angry in that dugout. I bet he's going to he's going to chase after the umpire and try to do him an injury. Let's have the camera right here and be ready for that shot. I have such love and such appreciation for the people who direct baseball, as opposed to any other sport where it's not the sort. It would be a lesser experience if I were choosing the shots, even if I was telling him, "Here's what I'm interested in."
I don't disagree, but I go to a baseball game and I enjoy sitting in a chair at a baseball game and watching the game. And from where I sit, I'm usually looking kind of down on the field from the front of the upper deck. And
I get it. There.
It's a video game view, but I can see where the outfielders are going.
And you get to look around
and know what's happening. And so, like, it's just different. It's just
so there's two, and that's where director says, let's take a look at the bullpen because someone's warming up now that wasn't warming up before.
There's two presentation styles for this.
But I like watching baseball on TV, and I like going to ball games, and they're different. And when I go to the ball game, I get to be the director. And I'm not saying that watching it on TV isn't good, but I'm saying you could also go, and that's also good. It's just
ball game food. Like, unless they can DoorDash you the ball game food experience, like
hot dogs are available right there. Doc Rock.
Here's a hot dogs are available. $87.
But Doc, I don't know what they have in Hawaii, but whatever you do, don't eat ballpark franks, okay? Just trust me on this.
You gotta go to Hawaii.
Not ballpark at the ballpark. Ballpark capital B trademark. Plump them when they cook. You don't want to know why they plump when they cook.
But whenever I come to the mainland, I always try to catch a pro game. And one of the last pro games I saw was at Moda Center. And this is really funny because Trailblazers basketball, there was Trailblazers and Cavaliers. And that's when I first experienced, I think they call it a Monster Burger, but it's a cheeseburger with peanut butter and jelly on it.
Oh, God.
Sounds great. Man, it's delicious. I just did it because I was there, and I'm like, Portland is keeping it weird, dude, but it is so good. I think it's called Killer Burger or Monster Burger, but you have to try it at least once. it is mind-blowing. Now, that said, there's dispensaries in Portland, too, so there might have been the problem.
You are watching MacBreak Weekly. Well, let's see how many of the top 10 stories that I was provided by my
Close the Vision Pro segment first.
Yeah. Close the Vision. Yeah. I gotta remember to do that.
Yeah, you gotta leave that out there.
The Vision Pro segment.
Now you see, now you know, we're done talking the Vision Pro.
All right.
Yeah.
Andy. Gotta close it. Always close your parentheses.
I have to say that I have a friend who is a professional Broadway performer, and he actually texted me to say that is some on the point handwork you've been doing. Ever since that. Again, if you knew his resume on Broadway,
are you doing jazz hands? Is that what you're doing?
He didn't say jazz hands. He just said that was like, okay, yeah, right. I'll take that, Chris. Thank you very much.
Let's see what else. It was announced by Apple that JPMorgan is leaving the building, and Chase is going to take over the Apple Card. It's going to take a little while, 24 months, 2 years. Goldman has been dying to get out of this. Did I say JPMorgan? I did. I meant Goldman. It's JPMorganChase who's taking over. Yeah, Goldman has just hated this whole experience. They've lost money.
They thought they were getting into consumer banking, and then they thought better of it, basically.
Yeah. We don't want to be in consumer. We like ripping off the millionaires. That's the way to go.
Yeah. The Wall Street Journal had a really good breakdown of not only like the negotiations, but also the history of these two companies and why it just was not working. It was like Apple saying that, no, you're going to take a lot of, we want to sign up almost everybody that we possibly can. It's like, okay, that's a lot of like subprime lending that we don't really want to get involved in. And hey, and we're also going to, we're going to like make sure that we ship all the bills on the same day. Say, okay, but there's a reason why in the past like 40, 50 years of this industry, we don't ship them all on the same day because we can't handle all this customer service stuff on the same day. They both got into trouble with the consumer organizations and the government because of failure to report certain things. The Wall Street Journal, again, does a really good job tying this all together. It's not as though they were like fighting each other all the way. It just seemed like they were quite incompatible. And they've been trying to get this deal closed for months and months and months.
2 years, it says. The Journal says they were negotiating. That's a long time.
To the degree that Chase was actually like getting shareholder comments during their quarterly saying, hey, how come you haven't closed this thing yet? And one of the problems was that like, okay, but we're gonna have to, if whoever picks us up is gonna have to like take a discount on all this debt, like what should that be? All these little details that are like, it was never going to work out between these two companies, but it was such an entanglement that it really was drawn out so super long.
I apologize to Super Denny. I scared him when I separated JPMorganChase. That is one bank. Goldman Sachs is the other bank. Apple has a whole FAQ on this, like how is this going to affect you and stuff. But you got plenty of time, and Apple Card users can continue to use their card as they normally do during the transition. No, you don't need to get a new card. It's all going to be the same. In other words, it's really the back end. It's not the front end. Yeah.
I got to give a disclosure. My brother-in-law is a high executive at Chase.
Oh. Hey, I got some questions for you. No, I won't bother you with it.
Yeah. Karen's brother, he's been working there for a long time. And I think this is actually, maybe helpful too, because I think the Apple Card does have a lot of cool things about it.
It does.
That, if you use it wisely, like any card, I guess. But I love going into the store, even if I have the money, like to go in and get a Mac Studio, say, and then just like lace it out. And instead of giving them $5,000, I give them $200 a month for 12 months, 0 interest. And I have the money, but I just want to I want to keep it just in case something cool comes up, like, I need a sudden trip. Okay, I still have that money.
They're going to keep that. They call it ACMI, Apple Card monthly installments. That's going to stay the same. You will still be a MasterCard. They kind of fudge the details on whether you'll get a new physical card. I like my clanky titanium card, but I never
love
use
that
it.
Sound. I never use it. Clink, and it's funny because all of my cards are metal now because I have the Amex Platinum, 2 of them, and then the Apple Card, so I like it.
You got an Apple Card, and you got Steve Wozniak's business card. You got all the cutlery you need for any meal.
Plus, if anybody shoots at you, the likelihood of the bullet hitting some form of metal before it hits you is high.
Exactly.
So that's good. That's a good
thing. For most people, it's like, exactly. If you get shot in the butt, okay, that's your butt is valuable. That's why you people should be covering your butt at all times. That's what they say. So
didn't I see a picture of a MacBook that had a bullet?
That a couple of years, a fighter, a Ukrainian, mentioned basically posted these pictures of their MacBook Air stopped a piece of shrapnel with the very, very That's the sort of thing that gets spread a lot. It's you never.
It's old.
Oh no, it's not old. It's not old. It's maybe 2 or 3 weeks old.
Yeah.
I don't know when the original incident was, but it got traction a few weeks ago. But that's where you don't regret spending money for MacBook build quality.
Yeah. He did, by the way. The MacBook still works, but the K key is missing, which I don't know. I think that would be a problem. That's where the bullet hit the K key.
That's super funny. When you said K key, I was thinking about the kid was missing. What kid?
No. The K, the letter K.
Yeah, in Hawaii, keiki means child.
Keiki, I know. Yeah.
So I don't know why.
I know what uku, and I also know what uku means.
Oh my God, Leo!
You know who told me about keiki and uku is Becky Worley, who grew up, went to Tahoe, and I think I want to say her grandfather was the head of the Tahoe school. But she said in school they would have the uku check every once in a while.
Yeah, 100%. They go through and check your hair.
Yeah,
that's super
check
funny.
your head. Here's a video. You can still read the tweets in X, even though there's a bullet gone straight through it. that's kind of amazing. Yeah, isn't that wild? All right, let's see. We're done with the J.P. Morgan, Goldman Sachs. I don't think there's anything more to say about that. Yeah, there is a very lengthy Wall Street Journal article about it. I was surprised that it took so long to negotiate. But I guess when it comes to money, nobody is in a hurry. Apple has some more transitions, lost the Safari lead designer to Atlassian, which owns now the browser company, the folks who did Arc, which was great, and are now doing a AI browser called Dia, which as far as I know, no one uses. It is based on WebKit, however, so it makes sense that Marco Treverio, lead designer for Safari, would go to the browser company.
Yeah. That's another app that seems a little bit moribund. Like they've been doing a lot of good work to make it secure.
I love Dark.
Which is identical. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And like there are things like split browsing, which is like that has totally changed how I do a lot of work. The ability to not simply have to have two windows side by side that are pane, but basically say, I want this split in two. I want on the left, I want this app. I want this lengthy news article on the left. On the right, I want the Google Doc where I'm writing something happening. It's like, why don't you do that in Safari? And like every reason why, I know all the reasons against using Chrome versus Safari are really good reasons, but the thing is, like, the usability of Chrome and pretty much any other browser other than Safari is what keeps Safari as the thing that I launch only when I can't figure out why something's not working with Chrome. And so, okay, well, let's open up Facebook and Safari and see if I can log into this page that way. So it needs some love that hasn't.
And the sad part is it's available on the iPad, and I do it on the Mac, but then it requires splitting the browsers and either using the green button and doing it that way, or I have Moom, so I just press a button. But
it's one of the reasons I moved to. I mentioned I use Firefox. I'm actually using a Firefox fork called the Zen browser, which is an intentional duplicate of Arc. And I love it.
Zen
it has many of the great Arc features, so that's what I use. Rogue Amoeba responding to the icon gate, the unwanted menu icons in iOS 26, showed that they have figured out how to remove. I didn't realize this, but it's not just in Apple's software. It will by default be in any software. So they figure out a way to strip out all of those extra icons in their Rogue Amoeba software. They're very good. I really think these guys are great. So Apple's mess, they call it, and they found a way to fix Apple's mess.
Yeah. Nobody's running up to say, hey, I'm going to defend that. I think that it's a solid design choice and a good step forward for user interface design. It's like, no, no.
Oh, thank you.
We're actually willing to put in extra work to remove these things rather than simply accept things as they are. That's how badly people are reacting to this.
It was Brent Simmons who led the way on this with his free app, which is great, NetNewsWire. He says, I was wondering how difficult it would be to get rid of all the menu item icons. It turns out it's quite easy, just a few lines of code, and they're all gone. And he posted it because it's open source. He posted the GitHub gist so everybody can see how to do that. So thank you, as usual, Brent. Isn't he the guy who did pull to refresh, which is now
no? That was Lauren Brichter who did.
That's
Tweety.
Right. Lauren did that. Yeah, that's right. Well, we should debunk the story you might have seen. Everybody was saying iOS 26 showing unusually slow adoption after release. Turned out that the data was unusually stupid. The stat counter data didn't count. What was it? It didn't count Safari.
There was
headers.
The thing is, like, because Apple doesn't actually report on you, basically you have to, outsiders have to use tricks to sort of infer knowledge. The standard used to be, okay, well, how about of all the people who are using Safari, Safari will report like what operating system you're using, how many people are using the new version, how many people are using the older version, but they did, and so there was, oh well, gosh, yeah, no, look how low the uptake is, validating a lot of commentators. You see, people are rejecting iOS 26. They hate it. All the mistakes are huge and they're terrible. And then a couple of people were pointing out that in iOS 26, how Safari reports OS changed. They stopped actually reporting the actual current OS that it's running on, basically tricking this hack into thinking that people are still on the old version. So this story was on fire like a couple days after like we did our last week's show, and then it's just as quickly about 4 days later people start, it turns out that our inference was not correct.
Yeah, and credit to the Nick Heer's Pixel Envy blog, where he noticed that his updated version of iPhone 26 was reporting 18.7.
Yeah,
and that's apparently a Safari thing. And so there you go. Yeah, the user agent string is notoriously unreliable. If you look at it, often says you're Mozilla and all sorts of.
Yeah, I think most of the data was, but Chrome does not use that same system. Was actually reporting it accurately.
Right? Yeah.
However, Safari was not, even though it's a WebKit browser, it wasn't reporting it correctly on the other platforms. Again, it just shows how it's. I mean, I hope that I'm not as guilty as this as others might be. But once you have an idea in your head, a story in your head that not only is iOS 26 the most horrible thing that Apple has done to its users ever, but
you're
there's
looking
active
for
rebellion against. It's like, see, I'm absolutely correct. As opposed to
confirmation bias.
Interesting data. Where did that data come from, and can we trust it?
Right. Well, I don't think we reported it, so I think we don't have to issue a retraction. Good news. Global, I don't know if this stat is right. Counterpoint Research says global smartphone shipments grew 2% year over year in 2025, but it was enough to put Apple on top. And we did report that earlier, that they, for the first time in some years, beat Samsung as the number one smartphone,
and
with
we
a 20%
know
market share.
From Apple statements at the end of their last quarterly disclosure that they expect this next quarter to be their best all-time quarter, which implies strongly that they believe that iPhone sales this fall were really, really strong. So we'll know more about that at the end of the month. I think it's the 29th that they're doing it.
Well, we're going to see what happens in India, because the Indian government has demanded of Apple something that they will never do, which is give the government the source code for their operating system.
Sure. Great. Good luck.
Are they trying to what if we our open bid is really, really, really huge, and then we'll settle for the thing we actually want? Because it's like, if there's one way to guarantee that someone's going to say no, it's like, okay, how about give the most valuable thing and the thing that would invalidate the security and the privacy of the entire platform forever? Sure.
Now I'm going to give some credit to Prime Minister Modi. Probably doesn't deserve it, but because he says this is to boost security, which, maybe that is their intent. It's not the way to do it, but maybe that is their intent. And by the way, India's backed down on other things they've asked for very recently. So once they see the response, they may change their mind. It's a package of 83 security standards, which would, among other things, require Apple and others, Google, to alert the government to major software updates. But the source code, I think, is a non-starter. Now, Google can do it because Android is open source, although Google has considerable proprietary code on top of it. This is not necessarily. India's government on Saturday said, we're having an ongoing consultation with the tech companies on our proposals.
That happens a lot in India. You hear this announcement and you wonder exactly how far in discussions internally they were with this before some bureau decided, okay, we're making an announcement, or we're going to talk to somebody about this thing that we absolutely totally want to do, well before they even decided what they want to do.
Yeah.
But the fact that this gets out. And
again, to be fair to Modi and his government, they're not saying we want to access the source code so we can change it. They're not proposing, at least as far as I can tell, injecting new code into the iPhone. They merely want to see it so they can look for security flaws, which honestly is why open source works. So I don't think they're fully wrong, but Apple's not going to.
Yeah, but I mean, a few months ago, there was also a similar type of story where they said that we want access to all the data that's on every phone that transacts on all of our networks. It's like, and that's when they backed down on 2 or 3 days later. Yeah. Again, makes you wonder how they internally vet these ideas before they let them get out of the house.
Yeah. Or they just float these as trial balloons. And
maybe
when Apple goes, what, are you kidding? Now, if you were thinking perhaps that our federal government, in particular the FCC, is very consumer friendly and cares a lot about you, this story will not please you. The FCC, which only a few years ago told Verizon and other phone companies, no, you can't lock your phone for the entire contract period. You can only do it. Verizon said, well, no, what about the phones falling off the truck? We want to lock the phone to our carrier just for a little while so we can make sure they're not stolen. And the FCC said, okay, you can do that, 60 days. They have now lifted that restriction Verizon will be allowed to keep your smartphone, your iPhone, locked within the network for the entirety of your payment plan. This is a completely anti-consumer move. This is a totally pro-cellular company move. There is no justification for it at all. But it's something, of course, Verizon has wanted for a long time. And this has been one of the greatest things. So you go to the Apple store and you buy a phone, you buy it unlocked. You buy it so it'll work with any carrier, right?
Yeah, the funny thing is, and this is kind of dumb, the dumbest thing about locking phones is kind of a overhanded move. It's like, you ever seen those people that have like a poodle, but they got the dog chain that's made for a pit bull?
The spikes, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, like this is one of those. People are afraid to lose their number. Now, porting works amazingly. It has worked amazingly for a long time. I've only ever run into one issue where I can't get a number out of Ring Central, which is now owned by Verizon. And then my company that I was moving to, also owned by Verizon, they still couldn't figure out how to port the number. So I still get stuck with Ring Central, which is really dumb because, I'm trying to switch to Spectrum. However...
see, that's why they don't want you to switch to Spectrum.
Well, but it's still Verizon. So Verizon is the person that technically holds the number, and they own the whole thing. So that's the reason why it's absolutely ignorant. Is we're nerds and we know how to port. Most people still don't even realize you can port your numbers. People are not going to just pick up and go to another company because they're afraid that they're going to lose all their contacts. It's not even stored in your phone anymore. Like your contacts are stored in the cloud.
FCC says sophisticated criminal networks have exploited the handset unlocking policies to carry out criminal acts, including transnational handset trafficking schemes.
The FCC is a talking horse?
Wilbur, by waiving a regulation that incentivized bad actors to target one particular carrier's handsets for theft, we now have a uniform industry standard that can help stem the flow of handsets into the black market, Wilbur.
Now, Jason, I don't want to correct you, but technically speaking, Brendan Carr is not actually speaking in that voice. They smear peanut butter on his lips, so he just moves his lips around.
His lips moving than somebody else.
Actually is doing.
Actually, I was doing Francis the Talking Mule, but that's okay.
It's all okay. It's all in the genre. That's what matters. It's not him anyway. It's his spokeshorse.
Spokeshorse. That's right.
The horse, of course.
Unbelievable. So just to be aware of this, I guess really you probably should never buy a phone from Verizon. I presume Apple will still offer unlocked iPhones that you can.
Technically speaking, it's not as though they're never going to unlock it. They used to be ordered to basically say after 60 days you must Verizon has to unlock it. Now with this new guideline, they're basically no longer required to do that. They're required to do that only upon specific request and only after the terms of that contract have been fulfilled. So if your contract basically says that no, you're not allowed to simply pay off the phone and take it to another carrier, they can basically keep you on for the entire terms of the contract if they want to honor that, if they want to write it that way.
Fair enough. I still won't buy a phone.
That contract was always jacked up, and we mostly don't live there anymore. But like, you remember they used to put you in because they're quote unquote subsidizing the phone. But if you calculated it, the phone was paid for in 14 months,
right?
But you were in a contract for 24. So for the last time, they didn't lower the price of your phone bill, even though the phone's now paid for. So they weren't really subsidizing anything. Like it was just a complete farce. And thanks to John T-Mobile for snitching.
But like you said before, it makes premium smartphones accessible to more people by, again, you may not necessarily have $1,000 to spend today on a new phone, but if you spread the pain out amongst 2 years, especially if you were just not planning on changing carriers anyway, it's like, okay.
I don't know if you noticed this year, a lot of the lock-in was moved to 3 years. I don't do that. Yeah. I just buy my phone. But I did notice when I was looking at the store, a lot of the new lock-ins had moved to 3 years instead of 2 now.
Yeah. But you don't have to get their most expensive plan, I hear.
Yeah.
Now, don't bring your giant TV into the TV store because they're not going to take it. You see, I watch a lot of ads. That's the downside of NFL playoffs. You see a lot of ads.
On repeat, by the way.
On repeat, I know. I've got them memorized. I do like the dog park one, though. Dog park. Yeah. I do enjoy that. All right, you're watching MacBreak Weekly. I'm glad you're here. Oh, especially thanks to our Club Twit members who subsidize everything we do. You may notice we didn't have any ads today. That's not unusual in the first quarter of the year. We've also changed how we sell ads, and it's a little slow right now. But we're going to keep doing the show because of Club Twit. Club Twit members subsidize the cost of this show, 25% of it, and all of our programming. You get some benefits. There's reasons to do it besides just, we want to keep Twit going. We like the show. We want to, help support it. You also get ad-free versions of this show and all the shows. You wouldn't even hear me begging for money, which is probably a benefit. You also get access to our Club Twit. I call it the disco, but it's actually a Discord, and it is a lot of fun. It's a great place to hang. Lots of smart people, and a whole bunch of join ye Club Twit peasants. There you go, Joe. That's pretty fly for a cis guy. Another one of our AI users making these great little ads for us. Joe does it quite a few too. And here is another member in the mashed potato in the disco. So that's fun. I very much like the Club Twit Disco. You also get some very special programming that we do in the club programming. Micah's Crafting Corner's coming up tomorrow, 6 p.m. at chill time to join Micah Sargent and a bunch of other crafters. He does Lego usually, but there are people knitting, there are people painting, there are people cooking, sometimes there are people coding. Friday is photo time with Chris Marquardt. Looking forward to that. Every month, Chris comes by. We have a photo assignment. He gives us the latest photography news, one of our favorite photographers. I just arranged for Johnny Jett to join us to talk travel. We haven't had Johnny on since the radio show ended a couple of years ago, so I'm looking forward to catching up with John. Stacy's book club is the 30th. Jason, have you read The Heist of Hollow London?
I have not.
It's quite interesting. Eddie Robson's sci-fi novel. I like it. I'm really enjoying it. But I think opinions vary. We'll talk about it. January 30th, 1 p.m. That book club is also a regular feature. There's plenty of other things. Our AI user group is really hot and happening. That's the first Friday of every month, so it won't be till next month. We already did it for this month. But that is really interesting because we have a number of club members who are very active in AI, and they've been showing off. Larry showed off using Google's anti-gravity. Darren has been doing a lot of stuff with MCP agents and N8N. And I'm gonna maybe we'll do a little vibe coding on the next episode. I've been using Anthropic's Claude to great effect. I wrote on Sunday morning. I just felt like I said, well, let's see what I can do here. I wrote an application, just personal application to scratch my own itch. So I'll show that a little bit. It's kind of amazing. Anyway. If you're into tech, you really ought to be into the club. Club Twit at twit.tv/Club Twit. I'll be looking for you in the disco and you're dancing. Let's talk Golden Globes. The Studio, Best Comedy. Seth Rogen, Best Actor. I might disagree with that, but okay. He won. But I do agree with Rhea Seehorn's Best Actress win, although as they call it, Best Female Actor win for Pluribus. She really is kind of amazing. So some success for Apple in this is of course the beginning of the awards season. Actually, it wasn't the first. We had Critics Circle. We have had a couple already, but yeah, all leading up to the Oscars. I don't know if Apple will have an Oscar nomination.
F1 can get some
F1
nominations for it. They've had a couple of studio releases, so I'm not sure if Brad Pitt's going to win. Got to get a Best Supporting Actor nomination.
Yeah, but F1. I finally saw it once Apple made it for free. I think I mentioned this last week. Underwhelmed, but
yeah, I mean, it was a good movie, a fine movie. It wasn't the sort of thing that you
wasn't a great
need to own.
Yeah,
or watch more than.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't buy it. I'm glad I didn't watch it in the theater. I will say. It sounds really good on the AVP.
Yeah, I bet it does. Although I didn't. One of the reasons I didn't like it, it's such a thin script, and it's clear that the script is just to separate the action sequences. But the action sequences, and I'm an F1 fan, I know you are, Doc, looked like a video game to me. And then having Crofty's voice with an echo on it made it even feel, and saying stupid things that he would never say, made it feel more like a video game, like canned announcing. And that really turned me off as a fan of F1.
The thing that was good about it, which I think is all I really expected, because I seen Drive and I seen
Drive to Survive makes it happen.
No, not that Drive to Survive. The original movie Drive.
Oh, Drive. Yeah.
You know, they had a couple of these racing flicks. What made this movie really good is that Lewis had his hand in it. So he made sure that they didn't jump the shark too far.
Yeah, I know. He was a producer of it. Yeah, it was his idea.
So he wasn't just a technical, he was a real, like, legit producer of it.
Yeah. Lewis Hamilton we're talking about. So.
Sorry. He just Lewis to me. He's 44. And then, I call him up on Wednesday, and I'm like, hey, I can't do it, man. I'm on Twit with Leo. He goes, tell Leo I say what's up.
Oh, hi, Lou. I call him Lou. You know what was really great? That he made sure that Roscoe, his bulldog, had a cameo in it. And Roscoe is credited. Of course, he passed away after the film. But it made me very happy to see Roscoe.
And his street cred alone made all of his friends have to stand there and be in it. So they didn't have guys that looked like somebody. They had all of the real cats. And even Toto coming on in the end.
Wasn't that hysterical?
They had kind of a fight, during the part of the filming. And Toto's still like, okay, dude, we want enough together. I will come and be in your movie for like 13 seconds. But
it really did feel like the obligatory moment.
Yeah. It was like, listen, Toto, if you don't come and be in my movie for 13 seconds.
Gunther was there. Yeah.
Oh, Gunther was the best, but he didn't get any F-bombs in. But it's like, I will let out these pictures from that one time in Vegas if you don't come in my movie.
Woo! My.
So it was really good. They kept it together. I agree. It was very thin. It was made for F1 fans and, girls
sadly,
like
it wasn't.
F1 drivers.
I mean, that's what's sad about it is I felt like that ended up being made for people who didn't know anything about F1. And an F1 fan, as an F1 fan, I was kind of disappointed. I thought it was
basically a commercial for the upcoming season. Let's just put it that way. And if you put it in that point, it's kind of like when I used to watch, oh my God, what's his name? Airplane movies. Oh my God, my brain just went
Leslie Nielsen?
Leslie Nielsen. There we go. I was trying to get that out. We weren't looking for acting Roger Ebert. I heard one time Roger Ebert say it was dumb. And I was like, Roger, that's what these films are for. I respect you in so many ways, but these films are just for being dumb. Like, don't grade it like that, Roger Donner, Chili Willy, Manili Vanilli.
It's the Golden Globes mean nothing but promotion. It's Golden Globes.
It's even worse now that CBS owns it. It is even worse.
Yeah, I mean a bunch of media organization that owns a bunch of media organizations bought the Golden Globes after it imploded a few years ago. Right. So the Golden Globes was never meaningful except for PR because it was always who's a member of the voting body? We don't know.
The Foreign Press Association.
Yeah, and like
whoever that is.
83 people who like buy him a bunch of watches, take him a couple dinners, you're in. But also Apple's very, very proud of this stuff because it's all over like the newsroom. Where the two most interesting ones for me are the Producers Guild and the Actors Guild. Those awards are coming up, and all of these stuff got lots and lots of nominations. These are like people who actually work in those industries, and again, it's not as though it's a litmus test for what's good and what's the best work, but at least it's not, again, 87 people that probably work for the media company. There was I forget where I read it, but someone was talking about how like Deadline.com or one of the other Hollywood Reporter or someone else owned by the company that owns the Golden Globes, and they are basically also buying advertising from F1, buying advertising from all these organizations who want to be nominated, want to get awards. So it's like, okay, so the Hollywood Foreign Press Organization no longer runs the Golden Globes, but it was at best a lateral move into different types of
I thought CBS owned it, so it's not. It's Penske. Huh?
Yeah, who owns Variety, Hollywood Reporter, and Deadline?
Right.
Yeah, right. They also own the. It's all very.
As Doc Rock said, a word that I love and I wish we could revitalize: shifty.
Yes.
Well, I'm just glad that in a way, I'm really happy that one of our own, a person who came up in podcasting, really became popular and famous in podcasting, Amy Poehler, won the Best Podcast Award.
It's good to see one of our own.
Make it, right? Yeah.
It's not about the stardom. It's not about the celebrity. It really is just the quality of the work, and that's what I hope that this new podcast category is going to really bring to. No, of course we're being very, very sarcastic and very, very spiteful. Like, gee, is it gonna be who's gonna win this year? Is it gonna be Conan, a former SNL cast member, or
Will Arnett, or who's it gonna be? Yeah, who's
I'm glad we need to up their numbers a little bit. We need to bring some attention to how well their publicists have organized things. They're great.
The Producers Guild Awards got nominations for F1 Pluribus, Severance, The Studio, The Gorge, really?
Yeah,
Mr. Scorsese, crazy. Which was pretty good. Snoopy Presents.
Did you guys watch Palm Royale?
Huh?
Have you watched that at all? Palm Royale?
I have.
I tried. I watched a couple episodes. I like her. I like Kristen Wiig a lot. But
I love Kristen Wiig. That's the reason why I watched it. But also, Allison Janney is one of my favorites.
I love her.
I grew
Carol
up
Burnett's
on Carol Burnett. Thank you.
She can't get out of bed, but
Carol Burnett. And I mean, she's still kicking. And even though her role was mostly to be what she is right now, kind of like old and just hanging in there, I still appreciated it because she's a legend. And it took a minute to catch up, but after it caught up, and I did what I just said, I took it for what it is. It's what it's meant to be. It's actually a pretty good show, and I really
it's light, but it was enjoyable. Yeah, it was fun. Yeah,
it was good airplane riding movies, which is basically what I did. I watched it in an airplane.
I don't know if you'll recognize this, but one of my favorite games of all time is Dark Castle, and it's coming back, baby. This is the trailer. Now, is it going to look like this?
No, they're updated. So the guy who Mark Pierce, I think was his name, the guy who did all like the graphics and the animation for the original
Silicon Beach
Dark
Software
Castle.
in 1987.
Right. It seems like every 8 years they update.
Look at it.
Yeah. So updated the graphics, so it's high resolution. It's the same sort of like bitmap sort of platformer, so the same sort of charm as originally had, but it can take advantage of the fact that we have actually more than 1 bit of depth on displays anymore.
Oh, it looks pretty, but it's not. What's nice is they're not going 4K. It still looks kind of like
they're not like, oh, now for Vision Pro we've basically done this the entire thing in Blender. It's like, no, there's a reason why we kind of like it.
I'll buy this.
There's a reason why this isn't just like a nostalgia play. It's like it's actually a really solid platformer that's a lot of fun to play with a lot of humor.
Oh, I turned the sound off. Let me go back because I wonder.
Jason, are you a King's Quest fan?
I played it on the Apple II back a million years ago.
Can you imagine King's Quest Apple Vision Pro, like you're walking around and you're actually doing stuff?
This
is not Leisure Suit Larry.
When I hear that organ, that toccata and fugue, I immediately think of this game.
The sound of the bats, the sound of the rats is like.
Oh my God, the rats are the worst part of this game.
Yep.
So this is the new one.
And it's coming to Steam. There's an announcement trailer. I don't know if they have a date yet, but that's going to be a good play. As long as it's a reasonable amount of money, I would pay for this. Just to I don't like nostalgia at all, but there's a reason why. Like I listen to albums that were made like 30 years ago. It's not because I want to be back in whatever year 30 years ago was. It's because it was a good album and it's worth a re-listen to. And games are like that too.
This morning for my workout, I asked Siri for the top 10 songs from 1973, and I really quite enjoyed it. Dark Castle Beyond, Return, and Future, coming to Steam sometime soon. Coming soon. That's all they say. Soon. They don't say what the price will be, but if it's more than $20, I'll be stunned.
Man, you know what's scary, Andy? When you said, like, whatever 30 years ago, it's only 1996. That's not old enough. We actually got to go back 40 years, 86, to get to some good albums.
I don't know. I think the Red Hot Chili Peppers first one. You had some Blues Traveler going on then.
Dude, RHCP, love RHCP. One of my favorites. Okay, I'll give you that. But it's really
it was also
like
the 1990s was also like the apex of like moody female singer-songwriters. There was like a lot.
Yes.
Tori Amos, actually, I'm sorry, I used that to describe it because that doesn't apply to Tori Amos. I was thinking more of like Lisa Loeb, but like you got a lot of Tori Amos.
What was Lisa Loeb's show called? They did Lollapalooza. They did the female Lollapalooza. Lilith Fair.
Lilith Fair, yes. That was great.
That brought out some of the best of the best.
I watched that documentary. That was a great. Have you seen the documentary? It's good.
Yes, I watched that too. Yeah. That's so good.
Texas man uses Siri to find a 2-carat brown diamond. That are not lost in the sofa cushions, but actually At the Arkansas State Park, he asked Siri for mining tips. Hey, wait, what? Who? First of all, don't ask Siri for anything but mining tips. Really? And it worked.
Are we sure he didn't say, here is what Google has to say about mining tips?
Yeah, really. According to ChatGPT, you should dig here. That's a nice big diamond. I mean, it's, I don't know what it's worth.
Looks like earwax, but that's a very, very
I think it's brown.
Earwax. Yeah.
Well, I don't think there's a huge market for brown diamonds. I should ask my wife, except I don't want to in case she says, oh, yeah, I need one.
Oh, no, they're actually popular right now. They call it chocolate diamonds or whatever.
Chocolate. Oh, well, that's better than brown. Yeah.
The beer's got to give it a fancy name.
It's a chocolate
basically
diamond.
A dirty diamond.
Yes. It is dirty, yeah. I don't know anything about the occlusions, but anyway. Congratulations, James Ward, 41-year-old high school teacher.
It's nice to balance a lot of the negative press stuff we give Siri. Say, hey, look, it helped this nice man and his family find a diamond. That's not a bad thing.
He found a diamond, everybody. Anything else? Have we actually covered all? Let me look and see what Claude suggested for the top 10 stories for this week. Apple partners with, this is using the new Claude Co-work feature, which probably you guys haven't tried because you have to pay $200 a month for Claude Max to use it, which weirdly, because I did last week because I was so enamored. Claude's my little friend. Yeah. This is a document it prepared for me. I said, give me every Tuesday morning, give me the top 10 Apple stories that broke in the last 7 days. It said Apple partners with Google Gemini, number 1. Apple Card transitioning. It got the names right from Goldman Sachs, JPMorganChase. Number 3, now this is one, and Jason pointed this out, the iPhone iOS 26 adoption crisis, which has been since debunked, and they didn't have the debunking. CES. Now, this was a story we didn't mention, but I think it's worth mentioning. We mentioned it on Sunday. We did a whole CES recap. And I think Jennifer Patterson-Toohey from The Verge mentioned this briefly. Samsung briefly, and then realized what they had done, showed a crease-free foldable display. It wasn't attached to anything. It was just the display. Then removed, almost immediately removed with a hole on the table.
Perhaps a partner requested that it be removed.
But those who saw it said, yeah, it was noticeably less creasy. In fact, I think I've seen pictures from one of the
saw the phone.
Technically speaking,
I
did put that story into last week's show, Doc. We just didn't talk about it.
Oh, it was last week. Oh, well. Yeah. But wait a minute. CES was it? Oh, yeah, it was last week. Yeah.
It was last week.
Okay.
But it did, but they were right. There was like a big display of the component and next to like the previous edition of that component. And suddenly, we weren't supposed to put that out. Let's just, it wasn't like just, here's a box of stuff. It was like, no, it was an actually fully prepared.
It had a little card, like a museum and everything.
With active displays and
Yeah. Vision Pro sales crisis deepens. We did not put this in the Vision Pro
hallucinatory.
segment.
Well, I mean, that's a story that we talked about like 4 months ago, and basically, so no new news on that.
No new news there. New MacBooks coming, $599 entry level, and an M5 Pro Max. We know about all of these.
We've been talking about that, yeah.
Yep. iPhone 17e. That may be coming in the next month, I've seen some say. The low-cost iPhone 17. I think there'd be some demand for that. That's an A19-based, we think.
But no new details since like 2 or 3 months ago.
Right.
So.
Yeah. It's been the rumor. The only thing I did notice is somebody said it's going to be within next month. But maybe it was Mark Gurman. I think it was Gurman. Yeah. Okay. And I didn't mention this, but it's probably, Jason, you're going to need to get the ink cartridges updated in your printer because Apple's fiscal Q1 results will be released January 29th.
On the 29th. So
my anniversary and Lisa's birthday. Because foolishly, I thought, if we get married on her birthday, I only have to give her one gift every January 29th. And that was not the case, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, also, the annual shareholder meeting is February 24th, so they released their 2020 their latest proxy statement with a few details in there. Tim Cook got a tiny little bit of a haircut on his pay, only $74.3 million.
Yeah, we should mention that. We mentioned John Gianandrea, $25 million. That sounds like a lot. Tim Cook gets $75 million.
Yeah.
And that's including stock, right? Stock grants, or no? It's a lot of money.
Yeah, and I think the most important thing that came out of that is that there were a lot of people who were like, "Oh, you think Tim Cook's going to be the chairman, and that Arthur Levinson, who's the current chairman, is going to be termed out because of his age, and well, that means they have to announce things about Tim Cook in early January because they'll have to put that on the agenda for the shareholder meeting."
Right.
And at the time, I think the most logical thing to say was, "What rule requires them to do that? Who makes that rule? Oh, it's Apple makes its own rules." I think the lesson is Apple will announce things when it wants to and not because the bylaws tell it when it must do it. So the board announced that it was waiving the age cap for its members so that the current members could continue on the board a little while longer. And it's hard not to look at that and think they don't want to bring in a new board member and chairman and whatever because it's going to be Tim, but it's not yet. So let's wait a little bit. So they're like kicking the can down the road, but it's very funny because people are like, Apple can't do that because of the rules. It's like Apple makes the rules, folks.
Yeah, they can do it. So Tim's salary is $3 million, and then the stock option is 57.5. He gets another $12 million in some compensations and 1.76 million for budgets, aka 74.3.
Plus, he can fall back on his Nike money if Apple goes south. If Apple closes doors.
He's a Nike board member, yeah. I don't know. Andy put this in. I guess he was one of the people who voted for the Lego iMac G3. It has received enough votes. I wonder, though, if Apple might have something.
Oh God, I know. There's no chance. Lego has this thing where basically anybody can propose a Lego set if they actually have built it out of Lego parts and can actually produce a proposal. Then it goes up for vote. If it gets 10,000 votes, then Lego will at least actually actively consider it. Like the Wall-E Lego set was originally started off as a proposal, actually from a Pixar animator who was also a Lego fan, and that became a actual official Lego set because of that. It looks so good.
It got 10,000 votes, which means Lego had to Apple will review the idea.
I hope Apple lets this one fly.
They have to license it from Apple.
What we need to do is start a groundswell and get everybody to email feedback@apple.com and be like, let Lego make this. And don't be greedy. Just give them the dang license.
What we need is for Apple to suffer some sort of scandal that is so horrific and so enduring that they want to distract us from it by giving us something that we'd be twice as excited about than the malfeasance that Apple's
So we
being
needed
accused
this
of.
Last year when Siri sucked, or with Apple Intelligence, right? We needed this last year.
The creation took 700 Lego bricks by Terama, and Terama said, "Thank you for voting for my."
Oh, this is so pretty! Come on,
isn't it cool? Yeah,
I want it.
No way, I'm not buying it. No, it's like also, wouldn't that be great to like be in every Apple store, like this little display of this Lego iMac, and oh, by the way, yes, of course you can buy one of these things.
So all it takes is 10,000. Look, there's even like you can see inside and see the CRT tube.
It's not the thing is it's not almost a Bondi Blue iMac. It is a Bondi Blue iMac. It's amazing.
It's pretty good. You can see the handle is there. Even the puck mouse. Wow, that is pretty impressive. This is all with stock bricks.
I think so. I think obviously it would have to ship with a couple of stickers because there's an Apple logo. There's a screen. There's a startup screen. Would you vote for an iMac where it's absolutely 100% stuck on the startup screen, or would you want it to actually be the finder to show that, yes, it's actually working?
You know, I have this little Mac back here that boots up into System 7.
Yep.
You could, I mean, that's just a Raspberry Pi, I think, in there, or not even a whole Raspberry Pi.
Pi Zero.
Pi Zero. So I think you could probably, now we're talking.
The good news is that if it can be made with stock
work.
bricks, basically you can put the plans out and basically someone's going to be able to fulfill an order for all the bricks you need for this.
Everybody agreed, by the way, on the Sunday Twitch show that Lego's new Smart Brick is awesome. And you could use a Smart Brick to at least do the startup sound. At least do that. 700 Lego pieces. It looks now. You can't tell from this how big it is.
Yeah, it looks like it's kind of substantial because, again, when you look through the transparent sections of it, there's a lot of details in there. So if you know what the minimum size of a Lego brick is, it would not be pocket sized. It would be something you would. I don't think it doesn't look like it's life size, but it looks like it's maybe the size of a cantaloupe. I'm guessing.
Excellent analogy. Excellent. All right. That's it. There you go. That's all the stories and a few that AI didn't see.
But AI did.
But AI, Andy Anako, did.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andy.
That's funny. I like it.
Let's take a little pause that refreshes, and then we are going to get your picks of the week. Gentlemen, if you will start your engines in the... They actually don't say that in F1, do they? That's a NASCAR thing. Indy 500. It was an IndyCar thing.
NASCAR, F1 has electronic start, so it wouldn't be as fun.
Yeah, they don't. They just wave the green flag and everything goes.
Gentlemen, wait for the robot to do the thing that we had to put in because some of you were cheating.
Are you excited, Doc, about the new era next year, starting in March? These are going to be 50% hybrid gas engines because they want to go towards sustainability, and no more ground effect, no more DRS. This is going to be a completely, we shake up the whole field, and I think it's going to come down to who the best driver is on this new platform.
Yeah, I kind of really do like this, and I've seen a couple of the F1E races. I just like the sound of it. It's just
no, I want that.
It's trippy. But the rumble of the engine sounds better. But I just think that the sound of F1E is really trippy. It is.
It's weird, and frankly, it's not as much fun. I went to an F1 race in Vegas 2 years ago, and
that's right.
It's unbelievable how loud those cars are. They are really,
and like
really
Andy
loud.
said, you feel it in your chest, right?
It's
like
amazing.
That's the part that's what brings the thunder.
Doc, you're our guest this week. What's your pick of the week?
All right, so I got this. I was super stoked when I seen it came out, and this is the Corsair Xenon Edge, right? This is a 14.5-inch LCD touchscreen, and the reason what I wanted it for as a person who does a lot of live streams and stuff like that is I would be able to put the comments on, or like in a day like today where we're guest hosting, instead of having the Discord on my phone, I could put the Discord on this guy, and it's just a little Wii monitor that would just live underneath. Most of the time I'm going to use it as sort of like a stock ticker or a news ticker, but I mostly got this one because it came in purple, and it's kind of hard to see on this television here, but when I saw the purple, I was like, family, here's my cash. Let me know. Let me know. So it's basically a monitor, and normally these touchscreen monitors are available under different brands, but I just know that Corsair said they'd make it work with the Mac, so they would. A lot of the touchscreen stuff don't work well on the Mac unless you buy like an espresso display or some of the other higher end ones. So it's really just a place to put, it's a 14-inch skinny monitor. There's not a lot you can put down there. But if you do happen to watch any sort of chats or, data that moves, you're watching the national debt clock or something weird like that, I think a 14-inch touchscreen is kind of perfect for that. So for me, mainly it's going to be for chats and, maybe
one of the things that bugs me, I bought one of those USB second screens. Yeah, and I can use it with my iPad, but it's not touch.
Yeah,
and so it's disappointing. So this might be a nice. How much is it?
$250.
That's not. It's more expensive, obviously.
Well, so you can buy, there's a company called Weiss Edge or something like that, which is basically the same thing minus the cool plastic frame. And you can get it for like $150. But I trusted Corsair, and I did like, this one is actually paying a little extra for the design. And the design meaning the plastic housing and the slight little angle and things that come on. The other one is just a flat little extra monitor.
The Weiss Coco, is that what it is?
Yeah, that's what it is. Because the other monitor just looks like this, it's just a little flat folio.
I have a Dell that's just like that, yeah.
So you can get UPerfect has a touchscreen. There's a bunch of them on Amazon where you can find the touchscreen versions. But if you read closely, just look for macOS with a Control F or Command F, and you'll see a lot of them will say, "Oh, the touchscreen doesn't work on it."
Yeah, I think that's probably the case with all iPad ones because they don't have drivers for it,
which is like a vertical, like two pieces, and it's like one monitor. It folds up into a little book. That one, the touchscreen does work. But because the touchscreen works, you couldn't make it one image. It always has to be two separate monitors, which was like the whole reason why I got it was to
mirror.
span.
Oh, you want to extend, not mirror. Okay.
Yeah, no, I wanted to span a picture across both displays.
Right.
So when I plug that in onto my MacBook, it becomes 3 separate monitors. The MacBook plus those 2.
The Wise Coco's the same price for the 14-inch. So maybe this is the same product with a nicer plastic frame.
Well, it was cheaper. That one was.
They have a 12-inch for cheaper.
It's 12 by 720, right?
I can't do the math that fast.
I'll put the link. I'll put
3840 by 1100. That sounds
I'll put the smaller one in the Disco, which is basically this minus the case.
Yeah. Okay. I like it. It's pretty. There's the 12.6-inch mini touchscreen.
That's the one.
That's it. $145.
That's exactly the one. 145,
yeah,
and that's exactly
without touch. But then
with the little
that's
purple
only
dots.
saves you $10. So go for the touch. Yeah, I wish it would work with my iPad.
Yeah, see, this would probably work with an iPad actually, because you just plug it in. It should catch it up. I just wonder if
it does.
iPad's going to have the drivers.
Let me know if it does. Yeah, that's the problem. The iPad doesn't. My pick is kind of related to this. I don't usually do picks, but this morning I woke up and spent $250. So I thought, well, if I talk about it, it'll be tax deductible. I use the Insta360, the original InstaLink, which I really like. They've come out with a second one since then, and now they have the new Insta360 Link 2 Pro and 2C Pro. And I thought, you know what? I really like this camera. This is the one that follows you around, swivels, pivots, very good. And one of the things they've done with this is they've increased the sensor size considerably. So the quality should be a lot better. I'm a big fan of these, and I think it would work very nicely with Ecamm, I would bet.
It will work, and the PTZ part will also work. And so I use 2 cameras that have that sensor.
Yeah.
One is in the Osbot, and one is in the YOLO cam. And that 1/1.3 sensor, it's a Sony sensor. It's beautiful. And it's funny because people say, oh, that looks just like your Sony camera. Because it's a Sony sensor. But it's actually beautiful for a webcam.
That's what I've been using, and I thought, well, I'll get the new one, especially since. So if you get the Link 2 Pro, it's $250. They have one that's not that. So that one actually does 4K in hardware. The Link 2C Pro does it in software. It is a little less expensive, $200. But weirdly, they have a bundle for the same price as the single Link 2 Pro, $250. You can get both. Oh, they just raised it. Oh, so I got a deal. They might have made a mistake, and I took advantage of it. So $50 more, you can get the two now. But for some reason,
so in I got the email, I should have bought it.
Yeah, for some reason they had both cameras for the same price as one. And I thought, well, I guess I can use another one. I don't know why they'd use 2, except that you could then have a 2-camera shoot.
Yeah, multi-angle. Yeah,
it'd be kind of cool. Anyway, I thought I'd mention that, and yes, it does work very nicely. Is that what you use, Jason?
Yeah, I have the original.
Yeah, that's what I have. So
Link,
I thought
and
maybe I'll
Alex recommended it. It was one of his picks, and I bought 2.
You're just using this link, Jason? The one without the extra green dot? Just the basic one?
Yeah, the little one.
That's the one I have.
Link 1.
Alex said, don't get the new one. It's not. He said he liked the original.
Yeah.
We could ask him something, but he's ensconced in the fruit company for the next 20 years, and so.
Oh well.
We'll never be able to ask him anything.
Figure it out.
We can ask him at the retirement party.
Yeah. Did you get a gold watch? No, I got a gold iPhone. Jason Snell, pick of the week.
Yeah, it's like a pick that's also a little story. So this in my hand is the XT Ink X4.
Oh, I've been very interested.
Which is a little teeny tiny, super tiny e-reader, like compared to an iPhone, right? It's like it's way smaller.
It goes on the back of the iPhone,
and you can just stick it. Well, okay, so it doesn't really, because any modern iPhone doesn't fit.
Oh, that's too bad.
It's not that. Don't do that. But you can put it in any pocket because it's super tiny. You just stuff it in a pocket. It's a teeny tiny e-ink e-reader. My story is it's $70, right? 2, which is a great deal. The problem is, the hardware. It's not great. It's got too many buttons. I like buttons, but this is ridiculous. It's got 2 rockers on the front plus a rocker on the side plus another button on the side. And it's like, I don't even know which one goes forward.
It's button rich.
It's too many buttons. But also, I'm going to just come out and say it. The software for this thing is garbage. It's terrible. As with so many of these things, you get a Chinese hardware manufacturer who's picking up parts, and they're really brilliant at picking up a bunch of parts and making an interesting piece of hardware. But then, then you run it and you're like, oh, but the software is terrible. And actually, it reminds me a little bit of the situation with some retro video game emulation hardware where they make amazing hardware. And then you get the software and like the instruction is immediately overwrite the software that comes with it with this firmware that you can download off of the web somewhere that some open source people have put together. The same is true of this. There's a piece of software called XT or called Crosspoint that runs on this. One of the things I love is Chrome will let you do a serial connection in browser. So I went to xtinc.dve. Is that AL or AI? I don't even know.
It's also on GitHub.
And it is, yeah. And so basically you can flash it from your browser window. I love that. You plug this in.
Amazing.
And it says, I see this device is connected via USB. Would you like to flash to the latest Crosspoint software? Yes, please. Crosspoint software, much better. If I were the makers of this product, I would just contact them and say, can I just bundle your software on here, community? Because
it does EPUB.
And it supports EPUB, and it's got better font handling, and it's got better type handling. And
it actually looks really good on the screen here. That's nice.
Yeah, they did a good job. And it's also, if you're somebody who's like, oh, GitHub, blah, 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 it's like, no, literally you go to a web page and you press update and it updates it and then it's done. Like, that's it. There's nothing to it. And then
it is, by the way, .al, which is weird.
Wherever that is. Albania. All right.
That's a little confusing. Okay.
So xteinc.dve.al. And then it'll just do it straight from your browser. And then what's on here? I just put in another plug. Standard ebooks are on here because a whole load of new books came out into the public domain.
Yes.
And standardebooks.org is the place to download.
Did you get all the
those.
Nancy Drew novels?
And this is the Agatha Christie. It's the first Miss Marple.
Oh, look what a nice job Standard Ebooks does. They do such a nice job.
Yeah, so good.
So it's super tiny.
I'm buying this right now.
And like I said, I got it, and the software was garbage, and I was like, "This is terrible." And then a friend said, "Have you done the firmware? Have you done the Crosspoint?" And I was like, "No." I'm very skeptical. I clicked the link in the browser and updated it, and I was like, "Oh, now it's usable. Now it's actually okay." Not great, but things I would change. There are too many buttons. It should be simpler. I hope there's another rev of the hardware down the road. But like, as a cheap, pocketable e-reader. It works fine. Now, it's not going to work with your copy-protected Kobo and Kindle books, right?
I have a lot of EPUBs, and you can...
But if you use Calibre and you've got EPUBs, and I mean, if you've got... And you can strip the DRM off of them, or just get all... I mean, for this, just load it up with standard ebooks if you want, and it's classics.
Did you get the case? Do you think you need the case?
I did not get any case at all.
It doesn't have a backlight. So be aware of that.
And there's no backlight. You have to read it in the sun or with a light.
It's like the old days.
Yes, right. which again is a reason why I think that this hardware is not very good. But for $70 with the firmware, it's okay.
Nice. Firmware's free.
Here's what I like about this, Jason. They're going to prove the point to a bunch of people who could actually come in and make the good hardware,
make a better
good software.
I think that's right.
I don't want it to necessarily be Amazon, but if I could get that size and a Kindle with a light, paperweight, I'm in.
Right. I think there's something. I mean, there's a lot of experimentation going on because like Books has done their Palma, which is like a phone-sized e-reader, because it's basically is an e-ink phone, essentially, is what it is, and that's interesting. But it's also more expensive. This is super cheap because this is an ESP32, right? Like it's not running Android. It's super bare bones, and as a result, it's not very powerful, but it doesn't need to be. It's just a little e-reader.
How long's the battery life?
Months.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
It's a long time. Because keep in mind, when it's running, it's not backlit and it's e-ink. So it just.
What's your use case? Because I don't think you ride the subway.
Yeah, well, my use case is not. I mean, I have so many e-readers here. My use case would probably be that this is the kind of thing that you would literally like put in your pocket or throw in your purse or something, and just have it with you at all times, so that you could pull it out and read it, because it's got dozens of books on it, and it's super teeny tiny and weighs nothing. Right. That would be the use case. Take it with you.
They show it actually putting IDs on it. plane boarding passes.
Yeah, I wouldn't do any of those things. I would flash the firmware and put some good, nice ebooks on it.
It's funny you say that about the plane boarding passes, Leo, because that same size screen with the e-screen Rimowa has in one of the suitcases, and it has your bag tracking stuff in there. So when you get your bags booked in, the airlines that support it will actually put your bag stuff in there. But to Jason's point, when I was in Japan last week, they had these whole setup because books are huge in Japan. Like everybody loves to go reading, and the Palma and another company that was very much like them had these humongous displays at Yodobashi Camera, and they were all running around like $250 to $300 for an iPhone-size e-reader that had just incredible looking screens. And I can just see in places where people do read a lot. Unfortunately, our country idea of reading stuff is watching TikTok. But yeah,
that's what people are doing. So now you can put a book on there and learn something.
Yeah. So that way, when you have that brain rot section, you just flip your phone over. Yeah. And
wait in line at the DMV.
I just want the IDE in there so that if I'm practicing coding something, or even just a quick glance at a schedule or organizer or planner that's not in the phone, because the phone causes you to be like, what is this Instagram notification? Oh, Leo's sending me stupid reels again. Now you're gone.
Andy and Akko, pick of the week.
Mine kind of plays off of what we were talking about earlier. Dark Castle, the original version from the Reagan era. Yes, the Reagan era is available on the Internet Archive. You can play it within a web browser through browser emulation. So if you don't want to wait for the Steam version with all the fancy colors and all the extra levels and all the extra effects, you can go to archive.org, find it, and actually just play it. In many ways, it's kind of more fun as a 1-bit thing. I think that 1-bit graphics are its own aesthetic.
Yeah, because it's black and white. It's not.
Yeah, and it's like there's a clarity and a distinctiveness that's kind of all of its own. So it might even be. I want the creators of this game to make money off of the Steam version, but I'm glad that there's somebody preserving the original 1-bit version, because that is definitely a vibe, and a vibe worth supporting.
Internet Archive, Dark Castle. Available.
I got to skate. There's somebody who's using the conference room in about 10 or 15 minutes.
Good, we're done.
I like
Thank
to be
you,
very,
Andrew.
very clean. Bye. Have a great week,
And Bluesky.social. Thank you. Bye. Doc
when
Rock.
he was packing up, I thought he was setting up some kind of Skylink antenna.
He was packing. It was cute. Yeah. Mr. Doc Rock, so good to see you.
Thanks, man.
He is a director of partnerships, of which we are one, at eCam. You also find him on the YouTube, youtube.com/Doc Rock. Aloha, my friend. Mahalo.
Mahalo. Appreciate you guys.
All right. And Mr. Jason Snell, he's at sixcolors.com. You can read his review of the NBA game and the Vision Pro and all the great stuff. And of course, in a couple of weeks, the massively colorful charts from Apple.
It's true.
Your podcasts are available at sixcolors.com/Jason. Anything in particular you'd like to mention?
Yeah, just, Upgrade is still going on with me and Mike Hurley, talking about the stuff every week like we do here, and people can check that out.
The Incomparable Mothership, always great stuff there.
Yeah, we're coming up to episode 800 this week, I think. So,
yeah you just did 799 a couple of days ago, Earth 2120.
Featuring Xenomorph. Yeah, that's our Alien Earth episode. So
nice.
With John Syracuse talking about alien TV shows and stuff.
Lots of good stuff at sixcolors.com/Jason or at incomparable.com. Thank you, Jason Snell. Thanks to all of you for joining us. We appreciate your support, especially you Club Twit members. We do MacBreak Weekly every Tuesday, 11 a.m. Pacific. That is 1300 UTC. I'm sorry, 1300 East Coast time. It's 1900 UTC. I mentioned the times we do it because you can actually watch us as we record the show. We stream live in the Club Twit Discord, but also on YouTube, Twitch, X.com, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Kick. We've got viewers in all of those platforms. Thanks to all of you for being here. We appreciate it. It's good to see you. After the fact, you can get a copy of the video of the show on YouTube. There's a dedicated YouTube channel for MacBreak Weekly. Great way to share clips. And, of course, please subscribe in your favorite podcast client. That way you'll get it automatically the minute we're done. Well, maybe take a little time for us to edit it. It's getting easier, though, I have to say. So much less swearing with Alex Lindsay gone. So, no, I'm just teasing. Right, John Ashley? Right? So go on, find your favorite podcast client, subscribe, leave us a nice review, tell the world about MacBreak Weekly. We would appreciate that. I am going to be off now to go do Security Now. If you're watching live, thank you for being here. And the rest of you, you better get back to work, because you know what? Break time is over. Bye-bye.